Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Phil's Recap and Review. Tonight it's going to be the top sitcoms, an ultimate list. We're going to go through 200 sitcoms tonight and talk about our thoughts on each one of them, where they rank. We've been wanting to do this for a couple of weeks, but we're finally out here tonight. It's going to be a good time, relaxed. Not a lot of silliness, normal stuff. No, but please join the discussion. Share your thoughts about your favorite sitcoms. I always think that sitcoms are like junk food. What you like is your favorite, but then what other people like is sometimes disgusting. So we may talk about some sitcoms you like and some sitcoms you don't. But we're going to go through this big list. But of course, I'm not alone for this adventure. I have with me, as always, Joe Dirty Locks on a Sunday evening. How's it going, Joe? It's going good. Good to see you tonight. And it's going to be fun to talk about this. We talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago and how we wanted to get into this discussion about the sitcoms. So it's going to be fun to break it down. But of course, we're not alone as well. We got with us the live motherfucking chat joining us tonight. Right now, we got Fandom D Saint and Jay in the live chat right now. I'm sure we'll be joined by some other people throughout the evening. But tonight, we're going to, like I said, break down the sitcoms. Where we're getting this list is from the Tomatoes, the Rotten Tomato guide there. The best comedy series, top 200. This isn't sketch comedy. They're all sitcoms of some sort in some way. So we're going to get into that and break down all of them. Some of them, like I said, some of them Joe will have seen and I won't see. Some of them Joe will probably like and I won't. Fandom D Say in the live chat said we could just talk about Frasier for the whole time. I wouldn't be against talking about Frasier the whole time, but I don't know. We grew up in an interesting age of television, Joe, especially where you see where we are now. Sitcoms were what sort of ruled the game for a long time. We grew that family sitcom of the 80s and leading in even into the early 90s. Sitcoms were very much, if you watch television, I mean, there were those procedural dramas like Hill Street Blues. Yeah, family-oriented, family-friendly. You could turn up a little bit, Joe, if you can. But yeah, sitcoms were hugely popular at the time, and they all were different variations of the family drama. But sitcoms go back a long way. I mean, I think a couple of the ones that will be on this list will be very old shows. Two of my favorite sitcoms of all time, with like the Honeymooners and I Love Lucy, before they're even on the list somewhere, and there's other ones too. I'm sure things like Green Acres are going to be on this list, other older shows, but the era of the 80s was really very effective for the sitcom. It was very good to that 3-camera shoot, and then leading up to the peak, which you could say would be the peak, depending on your opinion, of, I believe, I haven't previewed this list, I believe Friends and Seinfeld are going to be in the top 5. And you could say that was the peak of that era of sitcom television. And things sort of, for me anyway, started to go downhill or shift towards the 30 Rock, Arrested Development, like Scrubs, even like the not 3-camera shoots with the laugh tracks and stuff, and sitcoms became something else. Curb Your Enthusiasm led it down that road. There was a resurgence a little bit for what we're going to get into our first one, and I think you're a bigger fan of this show than I was, but I did appreciate it at time. Number 200 on our list, the first one in our best comedy list, is the show 2.5 Men.
It deserves to be way higher on that list. It's you got it from Rotten Tomatoes?
Yes.
So that means it's ranked from like good to bad?
No, bad to good. Or it's top 200. It has 65% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know if
that doesn't make it, like, the last couple seasons sucked, but everything until Kusher was fucking gold.
Okay, I just want to say that, for whatever it's worth, we'll give a little bit more of our opinion. Let's not hold too much stock into where it's ranked on this list ultimately, except for to say I agree with you, even though I'm not a fan of the series. You, like I said, you're a bigger fan of this series, but I think when Sheeny was on the show, it was definitely, it was a higher quality in the sense of the way it was presented.
Hilarious.
And they had great chemistry. The three of them with the maid too, and like the whole cast, I think, had a better synergy about it. this show deserves to be way higher on this list. Like, especially when we get
probably not, because it loses like all Middle America or something,
or it loses a lot from the Kutcher of it all. Like it ended. It ended so bad in those final 2 seasons with not even right when Kelso showed up, because they tried different things with Kelso at first. He wasn't Kelso. He was like this lucky guy and he had like a lot of money, but then eventually by the end they just had him screaming and doing Kelso things by the end. People are like, yeah, I don't want Kelso on this show. And then him and what's his name, John Cryer, I think they had some good chemistry. I think he would have been an interesting character added to the show if Charlie was still there. I think it could have been interesting to see where it went. But I do think it's, even though I'm not a fan of this style, this era of sitcoms with this, Two Broke Girls and Big Bang Theory, I think this is way low. This is way low for Two and a Half Men. So let's get into the live motherfucking chat for a second. We got the Bloody Talker says, yo, I actually got notified. Hey, thank you. I'm trying to figure out weird ways to go live here to actually notify people when we do it. The Bloody Talker says, everyone loves Raymond, was top tier. Love me some King of Queens. I would definitely say both those shows, even though they're not necessarily my favorite, I would put them in that top tier sitcom category, especially
King of Queens. I hate, and Everybody Loves Raymond. I liked for a while, but I can't watch it anymore. It doesn't hold up. It's just.
Do you know who holds up on it for me? Peter Boyle. He's what sitcoms with King of Queens. It's Frank Costanza. Like,
he does Al Bundy better than anybody's done Al Bundy.
Yeah, in a way. I wonder if Married with Children will definitely be on this list as well. Bloody Talker.
He's right up there with Archie Bunker, that character in that show.
All in the Family is going to be very much to it. Alf is. We'll talk about Alf. We'll get to Alf in a little bit. I hate Big Bang Theory. I'm not a big fan of it either, Bloody Talker. But we'll get it when we get to that number. We'll talk about our thoughts about that one. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air should be there. It's going to be there, Jay. I'll bet that. We got Theodore in the live chat too. And Tracy, I know we can't trust these tomatoes. We're only using this as a source to just read the list. You know, we're letting the tomatoes do our homework for us in the sense of just printing out the list to read from. We're not necessarily holding stock to this list. At the end of all of this, we talked a little bit about this last week, but at the end of all of this, we'll repeat what we said before or have a different version of what Joe and I's top 5 list is for our favorite sitcoms. And by the end of all of this. So Joe, of course, keep notes. Okay, so Two and a Half Men. I know you're a pretty good fan of it. Anything else you want to say about it in the sense, because there's not too much you can say about sitcoms in the sense you like the chemistry between the two of them. You like the vibe of it all and like the shit talking aspect of it. Yeah, not much to say. The next one on this list is called Summer Height High. Never heard of this show. Don't want to hear of this show. What the fuck is this show? Why is this higher than Two and a Half Men if I haven't heard of it? It's a 2007 show starring Chris Lilly as David Lenny.
Some Nickelodeon show or like Canadian BBC something weird. Who knows?
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes, so it's going to have shit on here that like...
Right. So there's going to be some ones that we don't necessarily know, but I've never heard of the show and you can't fucking deal with it. Fresh Prince replaced Alf because the actor of Alf did not want to give up rights to NBC. There's a whole bunch of shit. And then they did that movie where the whole family betrayed him. There's a continuation to Alf. There was the main series, and then there's a TV movie that came on afterwards to close out the series where the family abandons him to the government and lets the government do tests on him and shit. And eventually he escapes, and I think E.T. phones home. I saw it once. It's not very good. But Willie, none of Willie and the gang are there, and they totally screw him over. Oh my goodness, Fernandez T with the super chat donation, $15. Holy shit, Fernandez. Thank you so much for that. And I think I owe somebody a drum solo from a previous super chat. So let me grab something. And let's get into this a little bit. Play you, and I'm going to give you a shot too, Fernandez. Thank you, buddy, for this one. Joe, sorry for the audio if it's bad. Thank you so much for the super chat donation. It means a lot, and I will take a shot in a second too, Fernandez. You are fucking awesome. Thank you for the support, buddy. And we got Dwarf Burger Swamp Beard in the live chat as well. He says Big Bang is fucking bad. Yeah, it's just not good. I don't enjoy the writing on it. I don't enjoy the characters. The only person I really like on the show is Kelly Cuoco. It's not because of her character. I just like her in other things. So So yeah, I'm not a big fan of that show. And we'll talk more shit about that show when we get to it. But whatever. Number 198 in this list, I'm just going to skip past this because we're talking about this. We're talking about that show. I haven't seen an episode of this. I can't speak to it. Number 198 on this list is Young Sheldon, which is the Big Bang Theory prequel series about Young Sheldon, which gets spoofed on this most recent season of Curb Your Enthusiasm because they're doing a series of Young Larry, where he's just everyone's doing this young thing. I'm gonna do Young Larry, and it's pretty funny. So yeah, no, not gonna really talk about this one. Absolutely dwarf figure. Home Improvement is one of my top favorites. Friends is in my top 5. Absolutely. I may be upset if Rock is not on this list. Father was a mess. I don't think
Rock.
Yeah, Rock. I don't have a favorite sitcom. I don't think I have an absolute favorite. I have a handful of favorites, and we haven't got to any of them yet. Number 2003 on this list. I guess there's gonna be some animated stuff. This is a really great show. I don't think about it like a sitcom, so we're gonna talk past it a little bit and maybe talk about this more in a different episode of something. But the Venture Brothers, Johnny Quest. Great fucking show. Patrick Warburton. I always fuck up his name.
This is including anime in this list.
If it's so the Simpsons are going to be here, Futurama's going to be in here, South Park's going to be in here, Family Guy's going to be in here.
That's not right. You got to skip over
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was trying to say. Like, I'm going to skip animated stuff's going to be a different list altogether. So we're going to yada yada over the animated ones, but the Venture Brothers.
Don't even read them. Just skip it.
It's a great fucking show, though.
Don't even mention where it is in the list, or what it is. Just skip it and go to the next.
Next on this list. Oh my God, how can this be on this list as greatest anything? Maybe because it's iconic. I've seen every episode of this 1,000 fucking times, and it is When I Wake Up in the Morning and My Sucka Saved by the Bell. Saved by the Bell at one that appropriately low on this list, but I don't know how to feel about Saved by the Bell because it's not good.
It's a sitcom. That's like
it is a sitcom.
But it's not. See, was it prime time?
The first season, I think Miss Bliss was. I think Miss Bliss was originally released as like a primetime show,
and then it went to what, like Saturday morning or something,
and afternoons. It was on all over the place. I consider it a sitcom, but
sitcom, like really, like that's not a. It's you got to draw the line like at like Nickelodeon's not sitcom. You know what I mean? Like, is Hannah Montana in there? That's not sitcom.
Well, I would say that Saved by the Bell is more a sitcom because it has a laugh track. It's set up with a 3-camera shoot. I think in the sense of how it's presented, it's young teen, but that doesn't matter. Kids shows can be sitcoms as well.
Yes, but like that's like
Corey Mitchell says The College.
That's almost like Blue's Clues for like slightly older fucking kids.
Come on. I mean, it's don't insult Blue's Clues like that, man.
Like seriously though, like that's what it is. Like
it's more like the Electric Company.
If they had named it Zach Morris is an asshole and like
I like
like
Joe. I like
a little bit more tongue in cheek.
I like those videos too, Joe. Home Improvement is definitely a sitcom. Bridge, great to see Bridgeport in the live motherfucking chat right now. Corey Mitchell says The College Years. Saved by the Bell, The College Years with Lyle Alzado was on there. No, it wasn't Lyle Alzado. It was Bob Golick. It was not Bob Golick, the other Golick brother. No, it was Bob Golick. Anyways, to continue on, Happy Endings is next on the list, which is a show I haven't seen, but it's with Elijah Cuthbert, but we'll skip along here. Next is a show I actually do really, really like. I don't know if you like the show as much as I do, but it's an HBO series from 2016 called Vice Principals with Danny McBride and, of course, the amazing, unbelievably underrated talents of Walter Goggins.
It's not top 5. We can move on.
Well, we're going to talk about each one, Joe. I know you want to get to the.
No, that's a good show.
I know you want to just get to the top 5 here, but I want to.
Everybody wants to get to, Phil.
No. People want to hear about their favorites too, and Vice Principals is one of my favorites, so I'm going to talk about it. Go fuck yourself, Joe. Next is a show.
That's probably honestly not even one of your top 10.
Not one of my top 10, but definitely in my top 30.
Exactly.
it's I like it.
It's decent.
I like it. Next is a show called Chewing Gum. Next is a series that is not a sitcom, American Vandal. Next is a show that was important in the time that it was on. It doesn't hold up to watch it, but it's still fun. They actually group these shows together because one's a spinoff of the other. Different Strokes and Facts of Life. Both shows were awesome at the time that they were on. They don't hold up to watch right now in the sense of a way like Cheers or Frasier does, but I remember fondly watching those shows.
Me too.
Next on this list is another show I remember fondly, but mainly because I watched it with my mother and my grandmother, Designing Women, another show that does not hold up. Some of these are, and this is in that 80s time when there was a sitcom boom. These shows are decent, but they don't hold up in modern watches. At least I don't think they do.
Yeah, I that's what I think about what one of your top 5 is.
Which one's that?
The Honeymooners.
But okay, I disagree because I think it's so proto. That's like saying that Beatles song doesn't hold up against a rock band song. They were the first to do it, so they're like breaking ground. I think the comedy and the way it's written, and we'll get to the Honeymooners in a sec later when we talk about those too. But those would be my arguments for like the Honeymooners and I Love Lucy, that they don't age because they were some of the originators of some of this type of stuff. So they have the first time bias on there.
There's a lot of jokes in the Honeymooners that don't hit well.
Well, it depends what you're saying if I hit well. Yeah, I just Googled what a sitcom is, and it says The Office is a sitcom, so that's the best. And The Office is going to be on the top of that list, both of these versions. Corey Mitchell is mentioning Joe's top in the chat, what I think is going to be Joe's top list. MASH being the all-time great. Has anyone mentioned The Office BBC? That was awesome, says the Westerosian Ninja. We got a couple of other picks from MASH. We got Married with Children, Boondocks. Dworkin wants the top 20. He's like, get through this shit already, Phil. We could go into a Phil speed read if you want to get through. Okay, here we go. I know Joe wants it, so let's go through a couple of these with a quick speed read of thing. Let's go into it.
At least let's get down to the top 50 because we're only at what like 190 here.
Yeah, but we haven't done this in a while. I want to keep you here for a while, Joe. So yeah, let's get into this. Fine.
Okay, go to the top 100.
There we go. The number 188 is The Young Ones. Great series. I know a lot of people are very loyal to that series and want to hear about it. It's a BBC series. Very funny shit. Very funny shit. I've seen it many times, and I really do like The Young Ones. Number 187, Green Acres is the place to be, way down on this fucking list. Number 186, The Game. Number 185, Don't Trust Something. Number 184, Haven't Heard of You. Number 183, Leave It to Beaver, which I just want to say a few things about Leave It to Beaver. Maybe it should probably be a little higher on this list. It is an important series that I think still holds up. The character types still hold up.
Okay, so as far as like important series go and character types and all that, everything from the 50s and the 60s is going to throw all the tropes at us that we're ever going to know. And right? Like in TV, there's 7 true story arcs or some shit like that, or 7 true and the same goes for sitcom. Like there's so like everything that was done then has just been done over and over and over again. Until occasionally you get rare gems that step outside that box that give you something new or express it in a new way.
Arrested Development.
I guess The Office could be like that.
Arrested Development could be like that.
Arrested Development is kind of one of those, but all those that from the 50s, let's not look at them about what ground they broke because of what.
No, I just think
because that's.
I just think Leave It to Beaver is a good show that holds up. I think the character of Eddie Haskell is a very iconic kind of character that still holds weight today. I still refer to people as Eddie Haskells.
And that's what I'm saying. But they all kind of and then there's the Gidget. And then there's what I want to do here is really give all these shows the credits for what they do, the ones I can talk about. So Leave It to Beaver. They all kind of got it from the is what I'm saying. I think some of them are forgotten about. And I think Leave It to Beaver might be one that's forgotten about for good reasons because there still hasn't been some ridiculous reboot of it or something. You blew through one there, Green Acres, right? Yeah, Green Acres. And Green Acres, is that the one with Jaja some shit?
It was Jaja's sister, the other Gabor sister.
Ava Gabor, yes. Talk about for as far as sitcom goes, adding a character type.
Yep.
Boom.
No,
Like
absolutely.
you already had the businessman type, which was the what's his name, but like to add that like that just the bombshell for being a
Ooh.
bombshell
Ooh,
type on a sitcom.
Casey, thank you so much for mentioning that one. That will not be on this list, but that is one of my sneaky favorites. Dream On. I think it was a precursor to Sex and the City in some ways. Okay, next on the list is Black Books. Don't know about that one. Red Dwarf, number 181, which I know has a lot of really loyal fans.
Yeah, I never really liked it.
I never got into it too much either, but I know it has its fans. Number 180, The Carmichael Show. Number 179, As Time Goes By. Number 178, I'm just going to stop on this one because I wasn't a huge fan, but Northern Exposure, which to talk about it is has some.
I was a big fan.
Has some Sopranos connection because David Chase, who went on to do The Sopranos, was a main writer for Northern Exposure.
I really liked Northern Exposure. I thought there was a lot of good characters in there. I thought they did a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah. See, this is a good exact example. That's a show I just never connected with, and I know you really liked. Let's go in the chat for a second here. Simpsons did it. Leave It to Beaver seems kind of low, says the Westerosi Ninja. Yeah, Leave It to Beaver was kind of the fantasy ideal 1950s world, but was kind of boring. I think Mayberry was probably better, says Corey Mitchell. Mandrell says Venture Brothers, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Rick and Morty, Boondock Saints, and Star Trek. The Real YT says Leave It to Beaver was good. Corey Mitchell says Andy Griffin Show was better than Leave It to Beaver for the 1950s. Yeah, it was, just because you had the brother Andy Griffin Show had an amazing cast of characters that were like all-time talents on that show. So next one is Looking. Number 176, Joe's favorite show of all time with one of his favorite characters of all time. It's the Nanny at 176.
Dude, I love the Nanny.
I know you do. I'm not kidding. I know you have you've had a major Fran Drescher thing for like as long as I've known you. You like
don't know. Hey, let me have it.
Yeah, we got that.
I like the Nanny for exactly all the same reasons why I like the oh god, I just had her name, Marissa Tomei and My Cousin Vinny.
Oh, Mona Lisa Vito.
Yep.
Oh, Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Did not like Red Dwarf. Loved As Time Goes By and Northern Exposure.
I loved Parker Lewis.
Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Yeah, Parker. Different Big World. Martin. Number 175 is a show I never really got into, but I know it has its fans, and that's Just Shoot Me with David Spade, his big sitcom.
That was a pretty good show. I wasn't like super loyal to it, but I watched a fair bit of it. It made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, I missed it at some point in time. Was it when did it come out? Like Frenzy, Seinfeld?
No, that's what he did. That's what he did. Right after Saturday.
Okay. Oh yeah, 1997.
He went on to do. It had some other people you'd like know that kind of went through there.
Next on this,
we know the two women too. They've been one of them like is an Always Hot in Cleveland, I think.
And I know you don't want to talk about too many of these low ones, but I just feel like there's too many good ones low. Who's the Boss? Number 174, Tony fucking Danza.
Is it good? Is it good, Phil? Or
no,
is
it's
it
not
just
good.
Having been on because it's good because when we were like 12, it was great.
What did I start this whole show off saying, Joe? Sitcoms are like junk food.
I love Who's the Boss.
I love Who's the Boss. It's Alyssa Milano, and what's her name? The main actress, and Tony Danza. And fucking what's her name? Mona. Like the character of Mona was one of the best television characters. You wouldn't have Barney Stinson if you didn't have Mona. Mona was breaking ground being that like 80s sex pot character. And I loved the character of Mona. Mona was the boss. I'll say it over and over again. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on these low ones. We'll talk more about the higher ones, break them down a little bit more. But Who's the Boss is I think it's where it belongs down at like...
Hey. So have you watched Community?
Yes.
So I think
Community
has been proven that Angela was the boss.
Yeah, but thoughts.
You need to take the class, and you can watch exactly how it is proven that Angela is the boss.
I don't know if I agree with that.
In that show, there's a class
I know.
I
think I've seen that episode. Oh, Mama's Family is amazing. I love Mama's Family. Underrated show. When you're so good at the lead of your show that you get a job because you kind of look like Carol Burnett, and then you make a huge career of yourself, and then you make an amazing character like the Mama's Family thing, and then Carol Burnett is like a secondary character on your show because you're so awesome that you've like figured it all out. I really do love Mama's Family. Amazing amazing cast, and I'm hopeful it's going to be higher up on this.
It is. It's really good.
Great show. Golden Girls will be very high on this list, and we're going to talk about the Golden Girls. Emerald, very funny. He's like, thoughts on The Walking Dead? Shh, 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 shh. We shall not. We'll have to talk about that soon. 173 is a show that I'm going to yada past it, but it's a really good show.
It's turning into a sitcom. I'll say that. By the time
a really bad sitcom show. Don't insult sitcoms like this. It's not funny. It's not fucking funny. It's pathetic funny. It's not good funny. The Munsters, which is really a great show, and I don't have too much to say about it. Fun show. Next show too, I Dream of Jeannie. But all these shows, to Joe's point before he says this, are they good? They're not good. But I enjoyed.
I Dream of Jeannie. I enjoyed hella.
And I enjoyed the Munsters too. And this next one on this list that's not very good, but I enjoyed it too. The Brady Bunch.
I loved it every day.
Every day, every night. I've seen every episode of the Brady Bunch. But is it good? Is it good?
It's fantastic. It's one of the best shows ever. It's is it funny? No. Is it sitcom?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I think it is. I would consider it a sitcom.
It's more half-hour family. It's caught somewhere between
situational. Were you going to say a half an hour situational comedy?
And drama.
Brady Bunch is, I guess they try the drama stuff. It's a drama.
A lot, because there's just every episode there's a kid learning a lesson, and there's not really too many jokes.
No fair.
Where are all the jokes?
But okay, you want to get a show that you're talking about, sitcom, punchline, joke, laugh track. Here we go at 170. Yeah. Very low on this list for this one. Did I do that? We got Family Matters in Urkel.
Fucking hate that show.
I loved Family Matters, dude. I couldn't get enough Family Matters.
I hated that show so much.
I love the Urkel show. I love the Urkel show.
But hey, a lot of people did like it. It was a very popular show for a long time.
Yeah, he was the Mork of the moment, like the Fonzie, the Mork, the Barney Stinson. Like he had that coolest, but like the top TV character thing for a long stretch of time, but not my favorite. I don't think it's really good. Again, I don't think it's good, but it's.
Talk about Family Matters because it's horrible.
No, I'm not going to talk too much about Family Matters, but I enjoy it. The funny thing about Family Matters, though, is I'm going to turn Joe down for a second. The funny thing about Family Matters is that it started off as one thing and then got shifted to something else. That when it was initially imagined, it was going to be, the situational comedy setup of the family, and Urkel was only going to be in like one episode or like a one-off. And then they just kept coming. It's almost like the Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters thing. Like he was just like a bit part of the show for a while, and then eventually by the end, he just became the show. So yeah. Tracy says, I hated Family Matters. Same, hated Family Matters. Sonic says, Family Matters was the only reason to watch television on a fucking Friday night. Tracy, I love Murphy Brown. Candace Bergman? I think, is that how you pronounce her last name? Another underrated talent, very quick mind. She does a voiceover in one of my favorite shows of all time, BoJack Horseman, in one single episode that she's really great in. I love her. Three's Company we'll get to eventually. I can't wait to talk a little bit more about John Ritter. But yeah, the show eventually became the Urkel show with all of his transformations, his different characters, Stefan and yada, yada, yada. Almost in a Andy Kaufman Taxi kind of like way. Not a very good show. I can't sit here and listen to Joe tell me he thinks it's a piece of turd, or like Tracy saying, I don't really like that show. I can't argue with you because it wasn't very good. It was horrible in the same way.
People will argue that though. People will argue that tooth and fucking nail that it was a great,
liking something,
hilarious show.
Joe, liking something and finding it personally funny and hilarious and all that sort of stuff is different than it being good. I find Full House hilarious. I cannot get enough of Uncle Joey. Cut it out. I cannot get enough Dave Coulier. I find Dave Coulier ridiculously hilarious. It's a shit show. It's horrible. It should be below.
That's another one that, yes, technically, just like
it's crap.
I guess Brady Bunch or some of the other ones like Saved by the Bell. Technically, yes, I guess it's sitcom.
It's a shit show.
It's not You know what I mean? Like, that's the sitcom you allow your kid to watch at 8 before the good ones come on, and you sent your little shit to bed.
But it's still
you
a
let 'em stay up till
sitcom.
8:30.
Are you saying that Spy Kids isn't a movie?
No, well, but see,
Isn't a spy film?
There's got to be some sort of delineation between. So, like, when it's no longer a sitcom meant for, young teen and under, then it's a sitcom we should be talking about. Then it's a sitcom like.
I think that gets into. I think that gets into a.
Show,
I think that gets into
really
a fine. I think that gets into a fine line because some people watch shows in different ways. But I accept your point.
And there's a lot of old men out there watching Hannah Montana for in different ways, Phil.
But you keep saying Hannah Montana. But like in something like
that's because I can't think. I don't know any.
But
other,
in something like Full House is a good
Full
House is a good example that it may be cheesy ridiculosity, but what that show strived to do was give entertainment to 3 different generations of people. Have Dave Coulier and frickin' Uncle Jesse there to be cool and have Beach Boy songs for the adult people, and then have the kids' stories with Michelle and Stephanie.
They made it
and then have the teen shows. So it was a sitcom for all ages. I agree with what you're saying about kids
just
shows.
Like a Disney movie is a movie for
some are for all ages, some are just for kids. And I think something like
I think they strive to make them for all of their movies. All of Disney movies are made so adults can watch along with them.
Not all.
Every single one of them.
Not all. Anyways, next up on the list is Togetherness. We got Baskets. Baskets is a good show with Zach Galifianakis.
Baskets wasn't bad. Yeah, that's pretty. There's a couple that are like really dark comedy.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily
Wilfred or that or like
Louis
C.K. even kind of
really the Louis Show and stuff. Getting On is next, decent show. The Addams Family at 166. The Comeback. Atypical is a good show on Netflix if people haven't watched it. Michael Rappaport and the girl that played Ted's daughter in Bill and Ted's. The Last Man on Earth. I never watched it, but
I watched the first season, wasn't bad, and then it started getting. Kristen, I like for some weird reason. I really like Kristen Shaw.
She's hilarious. I mean, I think it's that we'll get to that show because I bet it will be on here. If it isn't, is it the Flight of the Conchords connection that? Is that where
and Bob's Burgers, and she's in a lot of shit that and she's the same shtick in it.
But she's very talented.
Oh God, she's amazing.
Next on this list is an animated one that we'll skip over. Next on this list is a BBC show that I fucking love. I always forget what it's called, but it's called it's a good show too. Is Vicious. It stars Ian McKellen. Ooh. And David Jacoby and Ramsey Snow is a big part of it. Truly a sitcom and fucking hilarious. You want to see Ian McKellen like crack jokes through the whole they're just. It's a very good show.
It starts out a bit slow, but it starts out a bit slow and it suffers from the first you got to watch a few episodes and then you start to feel it.
Yes, but it is a great fucking show. Next is Father Ted, The Middle. Number 158. Of course, I'm talking about shows that I like. We're going to talk about these next 3 actually. Number 158, TV's Coach. Not necessarily an exceptional show, but is worth talking about.
Good show.
It is a good show, and it's specifically a great show because of Jerry Van Dyke. There's a lot of good stuff that happens on that show, but one of the most underrated, funny people in the history of this planet.
Dude, Dauber was fucking amazing.
Dauber was good too, but Dauber was good too, and Greg T. Nelson was good, and the daughter was good, and the girlfriend was good.
Coach, come on.
And Coach was great, but fucking.
I know he's great. I meant the old guy.
Yes, Coach. But the old guy, he stole the show every single time. He was a beast of a talent. You grew up a family with Dick Van Dyke, Jerry Van, those two guys sitting together. It's when you have a funny brother and you guys work off each other and you're like have that old school energy talent, that Don Rickles mixed with Gary Busey kind of thing about him. And he did it, and he did the act when he went to go on like Letterman. If you want to go get a good kick, go watch like old YouTube videos of Jerry Van Dyke on Letterman or on Carson or something. He's just one of those guys that owned the moment he was in and deserves to get his celebration here with us today. You know, and that's what...
Yeah, he was amazing, and he definitely, I will agree with you, he made that show.
I love that fucking dude.
One of the things that's interestingly good about that show that I will credit Friends for kind of copying is you don't get too doofus on a show. Right, like when shows add the doofus character.
They tried
in Wings. It's the mechanic, and
they tried that on Taxi, and then they had to write off that dude because they had that doofus kid, and then they brought on Jim, and they tried having both of them. They're like, no, we want to keep Jim. Let's get rid of a lot of people think Christopher Lloyd was on there in the beginning. The first season of Taxi had this other kid, this naive doofus kid, and they had to like and mix with and then they had Tony too, who was stupid. So they're like you can't have too many daffy people.
Yeah, well, I guess no, because I guess Tony was stupid, and so wasn't the actor there.
Yeah, Bobby. We'll get to Taxi.
But
Taxi's
they
gonna
were
be on this
all
list.
kind of stupid. They were like the whole that's a.
Except for one.
Oh God, Taxi.
We'll get to Taxi. Taxi's gonna in about 100. We'll get to Taxi. Okay, next in this list, I don't want to talk too much about the show, but I really like the show, both the original version of it and the second season when the main star left the show. It got mentioned a little bit in the chat earlier. It's A Different World. I think it's appropriate down lower on this list, but I very much enjoyed the show. A lot of people got their start on Different World. That was, like a jumping off point for someone like Sinbad. It furthered my crush growing up on Denise Huxtable, so I followed her over to that show, and then transferred over to Whitley. I don't want to talk too much about it, but great show. Next on this list is another really good show that you're.
Didn't another show come off of A Different World?
Was there another spin-off? People in the live chat help me out if there was a spin-off from
with what's his name there?
Dwayne Wayne.
Yeah.
I don't know if he got a show after that ended. People can tell me in the live chat.
Or was that Different World that he was on?
He was he became the star with Whitley after Denise left.
Huxtable left.
Yeah, but great show. Like I watched different. I actually rewatched it recently. Just like a show that's getting mentioned a little bit in the chat, Head of the Class. Both those shows kind of hold up comedy wise. And
Head of the Class was great, but there's a big conversation there that surrounds who's the better teacher.
Hold on to that thought.
Which class is better?
I like the first one better.
And what major star came through as one of the girls' boyfriends?
Robin Givens and Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson met her, or
no, I believe it was Robin Givens' boyfriend. But it might have been one of the other girls in the class.
I don't know. Is it one
major star?
Isn't one of them Jennifer Love Hewitt or no Jennifer Love Hewitt? It's like one of the girls is somebody. I know who you're talking about. We'll get to that in a second.
One of the girls had a major star come through as a boyfriend. The major star.
Oh, Marissa Tomei. Yeah, people in the live chat. Marissa Tomei. Fernandez T said. Hogan's Heroes is number 156. Good show. I didn't really love it, but I know a lot of people think very fondly of this show. My grandmother loved Hogan's Heroes. You're muted, Joe.
Hogan's Heroes is one of the best shows ever. I loved that show.
My grandmother loved it too.
I would watch it every night, every fucking night. 2 episodes a night. I loved it. I could not get enough of it. When the black and white episodes came on, and I realized it was in black and white original, I was even more in love with the show. It was one of my favorite shows ever.
So Hogan Heroes, in a way, is like your Honeymooners to me.
But it holds up.
I think the Honeymooners holds up too, Joe. Okay, next on this list is something we're not going to talk. Oh, it's a Korean version of Full House. Next is a good show I forgot about, Living Single with Queen Latifah and Kim Coles. Next on this list is Boy Meets World, which I was more in a different Savage generation, so I didn't really watch Boy Meets World, so I can't speak to it because I was Wonder Years, not Boy Meets World. Like, depending on how old you are, you have a Savage. I have Fred's my Savage, not Ben.
See, not every show that centers around kids, like Family Matters centers around the kids, right? And I didn't say that wasn't a sitcom, right? It is. This is another one that I think goes to the level of kids show and not.
I've never even watched an episode of it, so I can't speak to it. And our next two on the list.
What were we talking about again?
Boy Meets World. That's a kids show. The next two.
Nickelodeon show.
The next two on our list are, one of them I don't really consider a sitcom. I'm with you.
I loved Mr. Feeney in it. Mr. Feeney
awesome. Is the show legit?
He's the guy from St. Elsewhere.
Great show. Is legit, and then Monk. So
legit? Which one is legit? What's legit?
Jim Jeffries.
Yes. That's pretty good. Jim Jeffries is fucking hilarious. It's got the kid that was in The New Guy.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty fucking funny. I was upset they canceled it, but it also is a little bit. I could see why it didn't last longer than it did, but it should have lasted another season or two.
Iraqi was.
It could have gotten a whole lot fucking dirtier and raunchier than it was.
Now we're into our next pile.
Would have done, sorry. One more thing about that show, would have done like good to go like with like the same night as Always Sunny.
We'll get into.
It would have found an audience there.
Now, that needed to stay on long enough to build its audience. Iraqi says, "What happened to Phil's hair? That's a horror movie. It's tied up. It's not cut down. It was just looking. I was having a shitty hair day, so I just tied it up." Boy Meets World was good at the beginning, but then it got stupid, says DJ. Sonic says, I grew up with both Savages. And Doogie Howser got I Forgot All About Wings, which is also a spinoff of Cheers. We'll get into Wings in a little bit. So number 150, Bridge was wondering when this show would fit in here. This is a charming show. I enjoyed it for when I watched it, but I did not watch all of it. Number 150 on this list is the show New Girl. Which is it's a charming show, well put together, funny.
Katie and I watched quite a bit of New Girl.
Yeah,
we like it. It's good.
It's good. Yeah. I have nothing bad to say about it.
She liked it a little bit more than I did, but some of the characters are on it really good.
Yeah, funny, well written show. A lot of good guest stars on it. The main cast has excellent chemistry with each other, and Zooey Deschanel is very funny. She deserved her show because she did bit parts, and she really like, whether it be from like a little bit part on Weeds or something, like she really played the game and worked her way up and built she deserved this show. This was a good payoff for her career, and it was good. The next show is a situational comedy that gets forgotten about, and it's almost off the heels of the success of the show of Sam and Diane on Cheers and the moonlighting thing. You got some spin-offs or some imitations of the two people arguing kind of thing, and this was a big one. Mad About You. It actually had a reunion or a rebound sort of thing happen, or there's going to be one at some point, starring Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt. Also, the amazing, talented Cloris Leachman was on the show as well. Decent show, not really one of my favorites, but I know it does have its fans, and it was always good writing. I liked it too. I always liked Paul Reiser in that era, but I preferred My Two Dads, which was more my Paul Reiser show, and I was bummed when that show got canceled. Lady Starfall, hey, Phil the Issues Guy and Joe Dirty Lux. Hello, everybody. Good stopping in. I hear a lot of good talk about New Girl. Great to see. Phil, my sister has a crush on you. I can't control her. Just tell me where you live, man. Joe Mama. You can email me privately at igotissuesman@gmail.com. Again, that's igotissuesman@gmail.com, or message me privately on Facebook. Anyways, next up is a really great show. And it's funny because I don't love this comedian and other things, but I really do love this show. And I like this show, I think, in spite of him. And maybe I'm a hateful, horrible person, Joe, but I never liked this guy. Like you, I don't think you really liked Jerry Seinfeld as a performer. I never really liked Drew Carey as a performer, but I love the Drew Carey show. I fucking love. I love. I think everybody else on it is so spectacular.
They went to Doofus Guy too.
They had a pair. I mean, they were an improv pair of doofuses. Three if you count Krista Miller too, who does an excellent job who gets forgotten about because she's amazing on Scrubs and then Cougar Town following that. Married to the creator of Scrubs. What the fuck's his name? Bill.
She was awesome on that too. Everybody on that show, and it's not on reruns anymore. Like I wish it were. I actually gotta find it on Netflix or something or wherever it is.
Yeah. Tough show to find, but I fucking love the Drew Carey Show. Next is a very good show. Again, I wouldn't consider it a sitcom. Get Smart, but well put together show, and I loved it as a kid.
That's a spy sitcom. That starts the spy sitcom genre.
Yeah, Drew Carey was a good show. We see. Joe Mama says 65 years old. Listen, Joe Mama, I don't discriminate. I'm not an ageist. So next up I think is low for this show personally. I would put this probably in my top 20 for me. It's 146. We've got Three's Company. John Ritter is another. I've said this a lot, but John Ritter is probably the best my favorite physical comedian of all time. No one takes a fall like Goofy. No one takes a fall like John Ritter. And then he had the humor. You had both. This is one of those questions, Joe. Do you prefer the first Mr. Fairley or the second Mr. Fairley? Don Knotts or the first guy? What?
Oh, see,
it's tough. It's tough. Both of them.
I see. I think I prefer the ones with Don Knotts.
Without Don Knotts.
And because it's who comes along.
Okay, yeah, because you have Suzanne Summers on it, and you have like the more prime cast, and you don't have to deal with I hear what you're saying. It's not necessarily. Right, you just think it was a title show.
Third Cindy or Jennifer, or whoever, second Cindy or Jennifer or whatever. By that point, where like they're basically repeating all the same shit that was earlier, only minor differences because Furley's like. Furley and not I don't know why I can't remember their names.
Yeah, it's Don Knotts is the second one. The first,
not Don Knotts, but the characters' names of the couple.
Yeah, the Mr. Furley and the Ropers and the Farrellys. That's what it was. Jackie C says, didn't he host? He does. He's the current host of The Price is Right, which I don't really get either. I don't think he's a great host of The Price is Right either.
I don't think he's bad. I think he's actually pretty good. Okay. I don't find much of a difference between him and
Bob.
Go on, little girl, pull the money out of my pocket.
Hey, Third Rock from the Sun was funny. Oh, I'm sure we'll get to that in a second. I love Third Rock from the Sun.
That doesn't hold up either. Like I was trying to watch a bunch of reruns. Yeah, okay, we'll get to it.
No, I haven't seen it, but I don't know. Next in this list is another show that I don't want to talk about it, but it's definitely iconic, The Beverly Hillbillies. Next is an animated one. Next is Bewitched. Kath and Kim. Bewitched is worth talking about just for a second. Great show. Good. I know this is gonna seem weird, Joe.
Are you a Genie fan or are you a Bewitched?
I was a Genie fan.
I liked Genie a little bit more too. She, like what, 12-year-old boy isn't gonna like Genie a little bit more.
That's true. Dig. Kath and Kim and Miranda are two shows I'm not sure about. Next on this list of the show, I'm not a huge fan of because I like Raising Hope better, but deserves to be here. My Name is Earl. I don't even know if Raising Hope. I don't know. It is hilarious, but I just from this show creator, I was always a bigger fan of Raising Hope, and I'm not saying I have to pick one or the other, but if I'm good, I just want to mention it in case it's not on the list too, because it's the same world in some ways, and there's a definite sense of like similarity to the way the jokes and the way the world feels and the way everything's edited. That both shows are unique to themselves, but you can tell the same person cooked them both. So next to the show I've never seen, but I've heard good things about it. Better Off Ted. Then we've got Reno 911, which, I know it's got its fans, but I was always a bigger fan of The State with these guys because you got more wider range of what they can do. I felt like the Reno 911 stuff, you got locked into that same thing. And I love these comedians. They're hilarious. They're one of my favorite improv troupes. Right there, I think they go point for point with like the Kids in the Hall and stuff. But Reno 911, I felt like pigeonholed them into one joke. And I got sick of the joke personally, but if someone's favorite show was Cops, I could see Reno 911, them loving it. Like, I know it has its fans, and I don't want to poo-poo it. I was never a huge fan. Yeah. Next on this list is the show we were going to talk about. Joe, Third Rock from the Sun. I liked it at the time. I haven't rewatched in a while. Are you saying it doesn't quite hold up as much?
It doesn't. Like I said, I really liked it at the time. I thought it was great. I thought Joseph, whatever his name, Gordon Levitt was really good in it. What's his name was really the Harry from Harry and the Henry.
Yeah,
Lithgow was
John
really
Lithgow.
good in it. Norman is really good in it from Jurassic Park. You know who I'm talking about?
Yep.
Seinfeld, Norman.
But Newman.
That's it. Norman, whatever.
Norman. I was like,
Newman.
That's
why I'm like, why doesn't he know who I'm talking
dude,
about?
because I thought you were, I thought you were making a Third Rock reference that I didn't know about.
Nope.
Newman. His name Newman. But yeah, I agree. Some parts of that don't hold up, especially his relationship with that girl and stuff. It's cringy at times. Next is a cartoon. Then we have Joe's favorite show. We don't have to talk about this guy because Joe will have a coronary when I start talking about how much I like this show, because I think it's maybe one of Joe's least favorite shows of all time, unless I'm wrong. That is the wonderful, the amazing, talented Chris Elliott in Get a Life.
See, I remember hating that show.
I loved it. I fucking loved it, Joe. I couldn't get enough of it.
I remember when it was on, hating it, and I remember, I think, watching an episode at your house at some point.
Yeah, I had
really thinking it was pretty funny that when I was watching it. Did you have it on like tape or some shit?
I did. I like videoed the whole season. And there's like
I thought I'd watched some of it at your house, and like I remember it being much funnier than I had remembered it.
The series got its legs after a while. There was an episode where he was like competing against a machine to try to beat it as a paper boy, and it was like man versus the machine kind of episode. And it was just hilarious. Like I can't Chris Elliott's a guilty pleasure for me. I enjoy Cabin Boy. I enjoy all of his little bit appearances in other shows. He's hilarious to me. Joe Mama, what we're talking about tonight is different sitcoms, short comedies, half an hour, hour comedies, sitcom-like shows tonight. Sonic says Get a Life was good. Never saw Get a Life. Never even heard of it. We got another animated series, one of the ones Joe really likes. Number 133, a recency bias on this one. It's a decent show, but I wouldn't even put it in the top 200 probably, is the Goldbergs. I like the Goldbergs. It's well put together, but I wouldn't put it on a top list.
I just have a problem with some of its continuity.
Oh, continuity sucks. And
like not just like in its storytelling, but like in the products and things that they're featuring to tell the story. Like, I'm like, no fucking way. That shit was early 90s. Or no fucking way. That shit was not. He's definitely that. They said something about this other thing like last episode. The kids in the same grade. That was like 4 years earlier in the 80s. What do you like? I understand they got to fit it all in or whatever. Like, yeah, it just annoys me. The little things like that annoy me.
That and
I appreciate it more now than I did when it started.
I hear you. My problem with the show is I appreciate it more at the beginning, and then Barry ran weak on me. I cannot. That's
the weakest part. And everybody's like, "Oh, I love Barry. Barry's the best part of that show." No, Barry's the worst part of that show. Barry's what makes me not like that show.
Yeah, he makes the show unbearable for me. I don't mind the kid. I don't mind the
mother's fucking.
The mother's amazing. The mother's the best part of the show, and Jeff Garlin is always Jeff Garlin, and he's good. And walking around with his underwear and stuff, and I like the sister, and I like the friends, and I like all that. But Barry, Barry's just unfucking bearable. I have a comedy Game of Thrones franchise that ends in one scene. Get a Life is one of those early Fox sitcoms, short-lived if I recall, very short-lived with like Herman's Head, and there was a couple of other shows in those early Fox sitcoms that tried to build off the success, I believe, of Married with Children. I think Married with Children was before all of them. Next on this list is a show we talked about a little bit.
Married with Children was one of the launching
Fox points with Beverly Hills 90210, maybe? No, 90210 was a little bit after that.
With 21 Jump Street, what's his name? The Gary Shandling, Tracy Ullman.
Yeah, and then I think 90210 and The Simpsons came pretty soon after that, and them with Married with Children helped make Fox. Those three, I'd say Fox was built on 90210, Simpsons, and Married with Children. really. Like those 3 shows really.
Actually, that first Sunday lineup of theirs with the 21 Jump Street, Gary Shandling, and Tracy Ullman is what launched that network. And I think Married with Children was there too, or something.
Joe Mama says Phil ignores 50% of his viewers. Why am I ignoring 50% of the viewers? I'm sorry, Joe Mama. I'll try to get that to 85%. I'll try to work that number up. Curb Your Enthusiasm has to be one of the best shows of all time. For me, Lady Starfall, it definitely is. News Radio was great. News Radio is definitely going to be on that list.
News Radio is fucking hilarious too. Yeah.
But Justin Gordon-Levitt is a great actor. News Radio was dope. You're not missing much, DJ. Number 131 is Love, which is all right. I watched a little bit. Number 130 is Extras. Then we got Enlightened. Then we got 128 Eastbound and Down. I enjoy that series. Like I said, I like Vice Principals more. I think I said earlier, but Eastbound and Down is pretty good.
It first season good, second season okay, and then.
I'm sorry, Jackie C. I will not let it happen again. I know. He's having some fun. I'm making Joe Mama happy here. Everybody, come on. Hey, Muhammad, great to see Muhammad in the live chat. So number 127 on this list is a show that I don't know how to feel about this show in all, Joe. I think I like 2 characters on the show, and for the most part, all the stories are shit, but I still watched it all and enjoyed it. That's number 127 on this list, Entourage. Like, Johnny Drama's a great television character, and I think holding up on that show. There's some iconic moments and things here and there. Bob Saget's pretty funny on it when he pops up. Some of the guest appearances. Jeremy Piven's the most Jeremy Piven he's ever Jeremy Pivening in that show. But I think the other guys on the show, Vince, Drama, and Turtle, kind of suck. Not Drama. Vince, Eric, and Turtle aren't really like, they don't hold up as actors over the long run. But Kevin Dillon is amazing on that show. And like, I would totally watch Johnny Bananas, the show with him and Dice, like doing animated character voices and stuff. And Joe Mama says hi to you, Joe.
Hi.
But I enjoyed watching Entourage. Like, it was a fun watch, but I don't think it's a very good show. So yeah. So yeah, I don't know if there's you have like, because I know I watched a lot of it with you too, Joe. I mean, we definitely watched through that series and we had fun. I think it got shittier as it got on. I think it reached a sort of peak of being okay at times with the writing, and some of the dialogue was all right, but I don't know. I don't think it was ever a very great show.
No.
Lloyd, I think it just had some good bit appearances, and at times certain things really worked. Next on this list is Sports Night. I'm not really familiar with that show. Next is another great series that deserves its respect. We talked about Head the Class earlier, and one of these actors was on this show. Very, very big show for me when I watched when I was a kid. WKRP in Cincinnati. About a radio station, and honestly, one of the influences later on to create Frasier was WKRP in Cincinnati. They wanted to create a little bit of that feel when they first took on that show.
The radio program.
Yeah.
Making that a big part of the
show, yep. And that was very much originally in the original draft and script when Lisa Kudrow was slated to be Roz. The radio station was much more of a part of Frasier because Niles wasn't a character, and then they found David Hyde Pierce, so they were like, "Oh, this guy looks like you. You need to cast him as your brother." And
perfect.
And they sort of rewrote the script a little bit to
their chemistry. The chemistry of that cast is precious.
We'll get to that soon. Next on this list is the first spinoff from All in the Family. A very great one, forgotten about because B. Arthur's so famous for the Golden Girls in modern days. But Maude, very great show, Maude. The character Maude was the first antagonist for Archie. and then she was so effective at it, they had to give her own spin-off show till the Jeffersons moved in, and then they got their own spin-off show. Archie always had to have a antagonist to go up against him, and Maude was the first one, and great show, Maude. The next show, Phil Silver's show, Workaholics, another good show. Number 120, Growing Pains. Doesn't hold up at all, but I liked it when I was a kid. Kirk Cameron is fucking nuts, and but I liked it when I was a kid a lot, and started the career of Leonardo DiCaprio. And there was also a bit part in it with Brad Pitt. It's one of those weird trivia questions where what 80s sitcom had both Leonardo DiCaprio or both actors from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and that's Growing Pains. Brad Pitt plays one of Carol's boyfriends in an episode briefly, and Leonardo DiCaprio is the cousin Oliver in the later half of the series. And I forgot to mention earlier on
Brad Pitt's in Head of the Class.
Oh, does he show up in Head of the Class too?
He's the one that's the boyfriend, yeah.
And with Facts of Life, George Clooney's there shows up at one point in time too.
And in Roseanne. That's what he started. Roseanne, who?
I have a good short comedy show. It's called Always Sunny in Philadelphia, says Joe Mummer. We're going to get to Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I can't wait to talk about that show. I'm going to change my name. I need suggestions. By the way, it's Phil from Philadelphia. It's Tool Time. The show's nothing but a celebrity who's who. Eventually, Entourage, that's kind of what it became for real. And I think the storylines became more ridiculous over time, and it lost its touch. So we got the Growing Pains, and then we got the Wayans Brothers, which was a good show. Family Ties, another one of those 80s sitcoms similar to Growing Pains, but obviously special because of Michael J. Fox, but doesn't hold up much past Michael J. Fox. And Justine Bateman, Jason Bateman's sisters on it. Then we have Laverne and Shirley, spinoff from Happy Days. I watched a lot of Laverne and Shirley when I was a kid. Penny Marshall, Cindy Williams, and then of course we got Michael McKean getting his start with that show as well. Then we got to yada yada through some of these. Psych, You're the Worst, Speechless, Gilligan's Island at 111. Gilligan's Island's a great show as well.
Psych?
Psych, yeah.
Psych's in there?
Yes, Psych. James Rodafay, yeah. Corbin Burnson.
It's not really a sitcom.
No, that's why I kind of yada yada it.
It's like putting Monk in there as a sitcom.
Yeah, it was up there. Are you okay if I call you Phil and not Phil? That's fine.
Just because they're funny doesn't make them sitcoms.
No, but I think that's what this is doing. I think this is doing comedy. That's why I'm sort of skipping around now. Here's two actual sitcoms. We got Gilligan's Island and then Good Times. Both great shows for what
they did to those poor people. Stuck on that island.
People have wanted to. Oh God, both these I think are low on this fucking list. I can't wait to get to the top here. Number 110. People have asked about it. Here it is. It's Tool time, everybody. It's Home Improvement at 110.
It was good.
It was good. I think it's a little low here. I think one of the things it's most iconic for over time is the wipes, the weird wipes slipping from thing to thing. Scene to scene, very interesting stuff. I'm not like Jackie C. I'm not the huge fan of Tim Allen. My favorite thing Tim Allen did was probably the Santa Claus, and Buzz Lightyear, I guess. But I was never a huge Tim Allen fan. But I do want to talk about this next one, which I think is definitely low because I think it's more iconic. Is Happy Days. I think at 109, Happy Days is very fucking low on this list.
Yeah.
But maybe I have biases because I love Happy Days, and the Fonz was the biggest thing in the world. And maybe the problem with looking at these older TV shows, you talked about it earlier with the 50s shows, Joe, but I think it's true with the 70s and the 80s stuff even more. The audiences were so huge because there were so few networks that these early shows like Happy Days and even Laverne and Shirley, more comedy.
3 channels to choose. 4
right,
channels.
or so hugely watched that they get an iconicness that some of the later shows maybe don't because everything was more fragmented. That doesn't mean that they're better shows. I do think Happy Days deserves its respect, and I think it does hold up when you watch it because it's set in the 50s, so it looks like it's in the 50s. So it holds up, so it doesn't matter it was made in the 70s. It could have been made in the 50s when you're watching it. It still holds up. So I think Happy Days absolutely holds up, and I'd put Happy Days in my top 20 probably for me personally.
Yeah.
Then we got Welcome Back, Kata at 107. Transparent at 106, both great shows.
Yeah.
Party,
Transparent, not a sitcom.
not a sitcom, but Welcome Back.
But funny as hell, yeah.
Both shows
Great.
are funny as hell. Party Down, Undeclared, 104.
Party Down's not bad. It's like The Office or kinda. It's not bad.
Yeah, Happy
Or
Days.
it's like, it's good. It's funny.
And Happy Days, before I go past it, is from not seeing it on this list yet, I'm assuming that Mork and Mindy is higher. So because of the Robin Williams bias, I mean, that a good bias, but I don't think Mork and Mindy was a better put together show than Happy Days. But Mork and Mindy is a spinoff. Laverne and Shirley, Joni Loves Chachi. There's maybe a few other ones too. The Happy Days had maybe some of the most.
Which is why it should be so much higher.
Yeah, it's a parent show. It
So
should be.
much comes- yeah.
It should be right there
So
with
much
All in the Family. It's a big show. We got the Terminator is back. We got Undeclared next on this list. We got another animated series. Then we got Fresh Off the Boat at 101. Now we're into our top 100. We're going to zip through this next to get to our top 50. I'm going to play some music and do
Fresh Off the Boat's not bad. That's one of the ones Katie liked a lot.
I'm going to go into a little music cue here, Joe, and get through a bunch of these right now. Stop me if you need to, but here we go. Now, next on this list, we got Fleabag. Then we have that number 99, Mork and Mindy. I already said I didn't think that Mork and Mindy should be lower than Happy Days, but they're close.
Yeah.
Next on this list is Murphy Brown, another really great show. Candice Bergen, hilarious, funny, iconic show that gets forgotten about over time. The Odd Couple, great series. I would put this higher on my list.
Yeah.
Odd Couple is excellently written and well put together. Next show is Frontline. Then we get Outnumbered. Then we have Soap. Excellent show, Soap. I got to pause on Soap. Billy Crystal was on that show, started off his career. The main actor of Benson was on that show too. Soap was one of the...
A lot of big faces.
Oh, yeah, a lot of big faces of the age. And, oh, shit. We've got the Terminator. Welcome Back, Carter is back. The Terminator is going to hunt us down here if we don't mention his favorite show, which is next on this list, Barney Miller Show. Barney Miller, I wasn't a huge fan, but I know a lot of people that are big fans of Barney Miller. Next we got
good.
Next
Doesn't
week
really hold up that much though.
Doesn't hold up. Then we got Mom. Then we got an animated series. Then we got Please Like Me. Then we have Malcolm in the Middle, starring Bryan Cranston. I think this is a fun series. I don't think it's one of the greats, but I think it's a fun series, especially the parents. I really like the parents, and I like Frankie Muniz as Malcolm. I thought it's not a kid's show, but from a kid's perspective.
Yeah, he had a horrible accident.
Yeah, and he doesn't even remember the time on the show. He has 51st States kind of amnesia type thing going on, where he only remembers like the first few minutes in front of his face and like bits and pieces of his memories. The Larry Sanders Show. I don't know if it's going to be on here, but it would be up there for me as well. One of the best spoof series. I think Gary Shandling is incredibly funny, whether it's Gary Shandling Show or other programs he's done or his magnum opus of Larry Sanders Show. DJ Better says Malcolm in the Middle should be higher. Then we got Rake. Then we got something that I think should be higher. But one of my all-time faves, Night Court at number 86, Joe.
Should be much higher.
Much higher. Harry Anderson, John Larroquette, Richard Mall, Maggie Post. I think one of the best collaborative casts of that era, and I think the show does absolutely hold up as well. But I'm a sucker for Night Court, and I don't know if that's just Night Court biases for me, but I definitely love that series. Next on this list is an animated series that's one of my favorite 2 or 3 shows of all time. So I'm going to skip past this, yada, yada, yada. People that know me will know what show that is. Maybe Horsing Around could be on there, but I don't know about fucking... Anyways, We got the Vicar of Dibley. Then we got Spaced. We got another animated one. We've got The Thick of It. We've got Everyone Hates Chris. We've got Police Squad. We've got a really great fucking show in The Jeffersons, which is one of the probably the best spin-off from All in the Family. Sherman Hemsley, whether it be on this or 227 after this, I think is just one of those hilarious motherfuckers.
I'm surprised you glanced past Police Squad.
Do you know why? Because I consider when I think of Frank Drebin, I think of the movies. I don't really think of Police Squad. I didn't love Police Squad. That's love the movie. Come from. I know. And isn't that fucked up, Joe? Isn't that really fucked up? Because it's true. For whatever reason, I didn't like the show, but I love all of the movies. I can't explain.
A lot of people,
maybe it's OJ.
A lot of people love MASH, don't like the movie.
It's the song.
Versa.
Suicide is painless. It's that song. It's fucking Night Court was a high quality. DJ Better says, I personally think Malcolm Meadows better than Night Court. Don't hate me. No, that's what this is about here. I want to hear that.
I hate you.
We hate you, DJ. Yeah.
We hate you.
No, I mean, honestly, and this is the third time I'll say it. I'll probably say it 5 more times. Sitcoms are like junk food. What you like is what you like, and then you think, I like SpaghettiOs.
Why don't you like Snickers as much as Mars?
Why don't you like SpaghettiOs as much as Beefaroni or Elio's as much as Celeste Pizzas? Like, everyone has that like frozen shitty food that they like, but then they judge other people. You like SpaghettiOs. I'm gonna make a Hot Pocket. Go fuck yourself. You're eating a fucking gross Hot Pocket, and I'm eating gross SpaghettiOs. We're both eating something gross, but we like it because it's comfort food to us. And that's how I feel about sitcoms too. Most sitcoms are trash until we get into this top list. We've talked about some good shows here, but like most sitcoms, even the framing of them, the way that they are set with the cameras and the jokes back and forth, it's very fabricated. It's not an organic kind of thing. It's almost like watching it's more, I think, akin to what I like about it is like stage showy at times too. Like when you do it in front of a studio audience, especially the early sitcoms like the 70s and the 80s ones feel more like I'm watching a play and watching a one-act play or something like that, which I think is when a sitcom is good, it feels like that. But for the most part, a lot of sitcoms are like what you like. So I like hearing that people have different opinions here. So, hey, I am the Terminator. You better not ignore my comment or I will break you. Listen, get to the chopper now. Designing Women. We will get. I have a feeling we talked about Designing Women a bit earlier, I believe, and I definitely liked that show a lot. I watched it because when I was a kid, I was raised by my mother and my grandmother, and I used to go to like dress shops with them and sit there. So Designing Women was very much for them. They were like, "We do this. This is like our life." So they were big fans of Designing Women. It definitely does, Noreen. We were talking about that earlier. Different World is definitely still holds up. I think even the later seasons of it hold up even more, as much as I have a Denise Huxtable bias here. But the Jefferson
better than the high tops that are in it.
Absolutely. Everyone Loves Raymond is number 77. I think it's some people really love this show. I'm not a huge fan of Ray Romano, but I do like Brad Garrett and I do love Peter Boyle. But not my favorite sitcom. But I know it has its fucking fans.
When it was on, I really liked it, but they're all just so awful.
Number 7, another animated series. Then we got Search Party. We got number 74, Master of None. Good series. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I know it has its fans.
Not a fan of either one of those.
Number 73 is Mr. Bean, the series Mr. Bean, which I liked. But I wouldn't put it.
Not me.
But I wouldn't put it on a top list.
Not a Mr. Bean fan. Not really a big Johnny English fan.
Yeah.
Not really a fan of that dude.
Yeah, he's hit or miss for people.
Red Dwarf wasn't like a thing of mine. He was in that show too, right?
I think he showed up maybe once or twice. Insecure at number 72. I've never seen that show, so I can't speak to it. Not a sitcom, but number 71 is Glow. Number 70 is Barry. I haven't watched.
Not a sitcom, really.
Not a sitcom either, right? But I haven't watched it.
It is.
I haven't watched it yet. I've heard good things about it.
It's you want to watch something that's along that vein, but so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Watch Mr. In Between.
Okay, I'll check that out.
No, seriously, Mr. In Between is fucking fantastic.
Studio 111
Yeah,
says,
I really love
Studio 111 sounds like animated series aren't being mentioned. No, we're actively taking out the animated ones,
avoiding it,
so we can.
It's not. They're not sitcoms. They're animated. They're animated sitcoms.
Joe has struck them out.
Things that sitcoms can't or shouldn't.
I disagree, especially when we get into a couple that I'm going to have to mention, especially one I have to mention in this list.
Well, here's the thing.
But,
if you're going to include them, then they are the top 5.
Maybe, but no. If you're talking what. I don't, different list, different topic. I'm agreeing with Joe on this because I think it's a different show. So we're gonna do a different list that's all top animated series of all time.
And this is one of the reasons why I think that is because when I was going through sitcoms by decade, right, Phil, and I was looking at it because I wanted there's a lot that I wasn't going to be able to think of that I know I've seen a lot of episodes of from 50s shows, 60s shows, 70s shows that I may or may not have thought of as sitcom. So I'm looking at this.
Oh no, I was just gonna say DJ agrees. Animated sitcoms are different than sitcoms. I mean,
right, and that's what I came to when it started with the Flintstones, and the Jetsons, and some of the other ones that were on primetime sitcom.
But Joe, I mean, the only one I'm gonna this is where it gets tricky because I agree with what Jackie just said in the chat. The Simpsons is a sitcom. It is. The Simpsons is definitely a sitcom, an adult sitcom that just happens to be animated.
See,
more than it's a cartoon. Even more than Family Guy, even more than Futurama, even more than all those other shows that might be better or worse. I consider the Simpsons a sitcom. But I'm not talking about it tonight. I'm taking The Simpsons out. For the basis of this list, we're taking The Simpsons out. But I would say The Simpsons are the
why?
Just because of the way the show's framed. It's framed as a family sitcom. But especially those first early seasons of it are very much grounded in the Flintstones. I would consider the first seasons of the Flintstones a sitcom as well.
Family Guy.
I would consider Family Guy a sitcom too.
Right. So then all of them pretty much.
Right. So
even Rick and Morty is centered around
I would not
family.
Consider Rick and Morty a sitcom.
But it's centered around family.
But I would not consider it. But I feel like it's the eye test. When I see it, I know it. I don't consider Rick and Morty. I don't consider South Park a sitcom, even though it kind of is. I think they're more out there, something different.
Half-hour comedy, animated comedies. That's the thing.
Again, we're wasting too much time talking about this when we're just going to do a different show on this.
Yeah.
So
those are in our definition. We're going to categorize those as half-hour animated comedies, not situational.
To Lily of the Valley Lily of the Fox Valley to agree with you on that thing. You can't act out The Simpsons. So by this definition, for Joe's definition of this thing, you need to be able to act it out. And the most cartoon you can get in a sitcom is probably Scrubs. So if you can't do it on Scrubs, it's a cartoon.
That's actually pretty good. That is pretty cartoony.
Now,
that's a pretty cartoony.
The Terminator says, "I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm out of here. Have a good night, Terminator. We'll see you soon, buddy."
You ignored his comment.
I did I?
And you got terminated.
I did. This video has been terminated by the Terminator. Okay, so next on the list is a show that I'm very fond of, and I don't know if a lot of people are fond of it, but I really am. Is Freaks and Geeks. Only lasted a short time, but I think is exceptionally well put together and fun, and started the careers of a lot of people. And I wish it lasted many seasons. Next on this list is Girls, which I've never watched, but I hear decent things about. And Joe, you don't have to talk about the series because I know you're not a fan of it, and you've made a point to say you're not a fan of it. No. This low, no way. Would be
Dinosaurs.
No, that's another one I love. But we're gonna play that game. Well, what are some of your least favorite series? Well, you'll get to it. You'll get to it soon. But I really love this series. I love the chemistry between the whole cast, and I love the vibe, and I loved it all the time. And you hated that I watched it, and I watched it in front of you a lot. Was Martin. I always.
Oh my God, I fucking do hate that show so
That's
much.
and I know I don't want to dwell too much on your hate on it, but because we'll zip past it. But I always.
Oh my God, that dude, he's horrible.
The Terminator says you should expect a surprise guest soon. I will terminate you soon, Phil. Thank you, Terminator. Have a good night, Arnold. Take care, buddy. Bye, humans. Not a sitcom, but I am a fan of Freaks and Geeks. Freaks and Geeks was a differently put together sitcom in the sense of not having a laugh track and follow camera type stuff. But
It was an hour-long dramedy.
It was dramedy-ish. Yes, it was more dramedy. So next is Catastrophe, which I'm not familiar with. The next one is The Wonder Years, which it's I don't know how. Again, I don't know how to feel about The Wonder Years. I watched it a lot as a kid.
The Wonder Years was a smash hit.
Huge hit, incredible hit. The romance between Winnie Cooper and Fred.
One of the reasons why that was such a smash hit was because it dealt with issues that had already been. I mean, I guess that had already been dealt with.
It had some dramedy aspects of it too.
Right.
It
was good because the way it wasn't so much about Tom Arnold, right? Not Tom Arnold.
Tom Arnold.
Whatever Arnold.
Imagine
right?
that show.
Arnold.
Imagine that show with a young Tom Arnold.
As much as it was
Roseanne.
about him dealing not with like the shit at school or the shit with family, but more like dealing with like issues of the time, like what his thoughts about what the people in his family were dealing with, and not necessarily what he was dealing with. It was an odd kind of take.
Yeah, and it got misty as much as it got funny at times too. Like
yes,
and that's what I'm saying. It like maybe not dramedy, but it definitely was schmaltzy at times.
Yep.
Oh, we got Sonic Boy.
Different kind of sitcom. That's why it was such a smash hit.
Thank you, Sonic Boy. Very much appreciated it. And the Terminator said before, you can't talk about comedy without mentioning Dark Fate. DJ Better says yes. Would I rewatch Night Court? No. Would I rewatch watching Malcolm in the Middle? Yes. Phil, how could you know how you don't feel about the show? What I mean is, I don't know how to think about it in a historic sense of how good it is. Because The Wonder Years was a lot of the early part of The Wonder Years was set in a way that never really had dialogue. They didn't have to write dialogue because it was all based around the Daniel Craig voiceover. Like he killed it on that voiceover and set the scene of what everything was going on. So Fred Savage really only had to say one or two lines an episode. And like when you rewatch it, it's still schmaltzy, but like the acting between the kids is really bad if you see through the funny over the top or the funny dialogue by Daniel Craig and not Daniel Craig. What's his fucking name? Did I say Daniel Craig? Not James Bond. Fucking Marv. One of the wet bandits from Home Alone. Not Joe Pesci. What the fuck's that guy's name?
I don't know that guy's name. No.
We got a voicemail we'll play in a second here. If anyone else wants to call on in, you can see the number on the screen. It's 781-990-8509. Again, that's 781-99. Daniel Stern. Daniel Stern. Just popped in my head. Daniel Stern.
I bet she's going to say how much he loves Martin or something.
You think the voicemail is going to be...
yeah.
Or maybe
like
it's
that.
either that or going to be like, Phil, you're Terminator. It's going to be one of those things. This isn't going to be a good show.
Uh-oh. I'm gonna get it.
You think you're gonna get it? I think I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna get it. I think this is a bad one for me, Joe. Let's see. I don't know. Why isn't this working? It's not working. Okay, wait. No, we don't. Wait.
Don't call with me. The best sitcom that ever was on TV. Yeah. Maybe tomorrow.
We got the.
Tomorrow. I'll just keep moving on.
Oh, we got some good singing on the live chat. Sorry that the background music didn't come through too as well
What
as
were
it
you
should.
singing there?
I couldn't really tell because I couldn't hear the background music, but I think he was singing the theme song of whatever the favorite theme song. Jay, I think it was Jay who left that. What theme song were you singing there? We had a little trouble. And this is from earlier. I missed this voicemail earlier from our good buddy Jay.
2.5 Men is probably lower ranked because there's two different eras of it. There's the Charlie Sheen era, which was hilarious, and then there was the other dude from that '70s show era,
Kelso
which
era.
wasn't as funny. So that probably brought it down. All right, later.
Thank you, Jay. Sorry I missed that message earlier, and I missed your message. Let me turn it up a little bit. See if I can hear it. And next on this list is a show that I don't know, Joe, I'm not a huge fan of. And someone said The Wonder Years, Jay says The Wonder Years wasn't a comedy. I don't think it was really a comedy. It was a sitcom, but it wasn't a comedy. He's got the whole world in his pants, in his bush. Littlest Hobo, of course, is Jay. And DJ says, the acting in The Wonder Years was not bad, Phil. And next is a series I don't like, but I know it has its fans, and it had so many fans that it got brought back from cancellation. And it's Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Joe. Are you a fan of Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
The first 2 seasons, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I never got into it. I never could.
It's pretty funny.
I guess I don't think I'm the biggest Andy Samberg fan from like a comedic standpoint.
Yeah, he takes a bit of getting used to for me too, but I end up really liking that show. Terry Crews is freaking amazing in it. The captain is amazing in it. I find the biggest drawback to be the captain's secretary, and when she leaves the show, it gets a lot better.
Okay.
And then kind of fizzles out.
Maybe I will give it another shot at some point in time. And Merle says, how can everyone not get that? We have not mentioned MASH yet, Lady Starfall, but we will get to that. And as I've mentioned before, I think that's going to be close. If that's not number one, it's going to be close to number one on Joe's list. We got Pop Cat. We got Adrian popping in the live chat. Our next two on the list, I feel like they're next three on this list, I feel like they're low, but we are getting to the nitty gritty here at number 63. Number 63, we have probably one of the best written HBO shows, and that's Sex and the City. Sex and the City, sort of a sitcom, I guess, but something different. I guess if Entourage is a sitcom, this is a sitcom, or if some other stuff is a sitcom, it's a sitcom. But I guess you could put this on, you could edit it differently in a sitcom-y way and put it on TV and cut out some of the sexy stuff. But I think it's probably one of the best written series of all time and very well put together. Not one of my favorites, but very high quality. When I finally did watch it, I was highly entertained. Next on the list, also very low for me and my interest, would be Married with Children at number 62.
Low on the list, but yeah, actually, to be honest with you, that's another one that doesn't really hold up all that well, and it should actually be a lot lower. But in my personal opinion, I mean, it should be a lot like it should be up in the closer to 200. But in my personal opinion, it should be closer to 1.
And Jackie C.
I'm surprised it's so high on the list.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough. Jackie C. is Seinfeld. No, Seinfeld is a sitcom. I don't define sitcoms as the same thing as Joe. I don't need a family. But you could say that even though Seinfeld isn't about family, those four...
No, that's a sitcom.
Yeah, I think, but sitcoms they don't have to have families. I think there was an era of the 80s where there was always families. But
they were pushing that, but yeah, it doesn't have to be.
But I would also argue... But I would argue about both Friends and Seinfeld and How I Met Your Mother, that they might not be family, but they are family.
Well, that's like Taxi as a sitcom, and that's not about family.
Cheers
is our family.
Cheers.
Welcome Back, Kotter. There's a lot that aren't about like the family core, but are still about, they're still situational comedy.
Now,
they still have like a.
Now, next on this list is probably what would be in my top 10, maybe even higher. Not top 5, top 10. Somewhere in the top 10 would be Golden Girls at number 61.
Much higher higher.
Much higher. Definitely in the top 20. I would put it in my top 10, I think.
Yeah, it's much higher.
Holds up so well. You can go back and watch it. Maybe even funnier now. Because of the nature of the show being, and all of them have said this at different times in interviews after the show aired, because of the nature of being a show about older women, they got away with saying shit to each other you couldn't even get away with then. Like some of the shit Sophia would say to Blanche, and some of the stuff that Sophia would say to Betty White, some of the stuff, or some of the stuff that Sophia would say to Dorothy, some of the stuff that Sophia would fucking say was just like so biting. And
my Golden Girl sock. I have Golden Girl socks, dude.
You're wearing the Golden. That's fucking awesome. People in the live chat. Did I cover Deep Space Nine? That was kind of a sitcom. Of course, Merle. Ensemble cast. Definition of a sitcom could be somewhat comedic in a half an hour. A friend of mine called Deep Space Nine Love Boat in Space. The Office is a great show, says Popcat. Weeds was so good. Early Weeds was really good, and I have a feeling we're going to see Weeds in this list, so I'm looking forward to talking about that. I think it got good again towards the end, but some people didn't make it that far. I think the New York seasons were good, but anyways, I have a feeling Weeds is going to be a little higher on this list. Next, a 1981 series, Only Fools and Horses. I'm sorry, but you're not better than the Golden Girls. Keeping Up Appearances. I'm sorry, you're not better than the Golden Girls. Number 58, a great series that's not better than
to comment about, to DJ Better comment, Golden Girls is a unique comedy that was never done or copied. It's been copied. Hot in Cleveland is pretty much the Golden Girls copy.
It's funny that they needed to get Betty White on it to do it, though, right?
Yeah.
I haven't watched Hot in Cleveland. Does Betty White play more of more of the Sophia character in that show?
A little bit, yeah. Quite a bit.
Now, next on this list, Joe.
But she's not any of them. She's not any of the gold. None of them are any of the same characters.
It's just a similar sort of setup.
Well, I guess Blanche and one of them are kind of. Yeah, no, I guess they are. But like, if there's ever been a copy, it would be Hot in Cleveland.
Now, live chat says, Jay says, friends were family by the end. Monica and Ross are siblings. Chandler marries Monica and Ross marries Rachel. So by the end, they are literally family. Popcat, since I'm a cat, it makes no sense. How can I understand y'all? Meow, 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 meow. My language, Joe and I both speak cat. So without even trying, we know how to operate at that feline frequency. Golden Girls, we shall not see their like again. DJ Better says, thank you, Joe, for the clarification. These next two are, again, three, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the third one. I agree with all three of these being in this big list here. Number 58, we talked about it earlier a little bit, Joe. Flight of the Conchords, which is a hilarious series. I kind of wish they'd come back and do another series someday. I think as funny as Britt and Jermaine are, Kristen Shaw and what's his name, Rhys Darby, is that
Rhys Darby.
He kills the series, like, because he's even more of a performer from like an acting standpoint than they are. You know, they're musical comedians. So, and she is too. So you have those two like amazing talents on the show, hammering the two of them, like being like, what's going on? You know, it's hilariously amazing. I prefer their music live when they play it rather than the pre-recorded versions of it. But the show, I watch the show for the comedy of it. It's really well put together. And if you haven't watched it and you like Flight of the Conchords, check it out. I kind of wish Sex and the City ended like they were becoming the Golden Girls. That would have been great if it went long enough to just like eventually turn into the Golden Girls. They just kept doing seasons, and I mean, I guess they did. They kept doing but then Kim Cattrall and Sarah Jessica got into that, you know, have a little bit of a rivalry. Oh, we're gonna get into Arrested Development later, Starfall. We're getting to the nitty gritty here. Number 57 on the list, hilarious show, and launched the careers of one of the biggest movie stars for a big, huge era, similar to the way that Mork and Mindy launched Robin Williams. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was the jumping off point for Will Smith.
That's a great show.
Great show, and holds up. Like, has William Avery, is that the guy's name that does the voice of Shredder and the plays Uncle Phil on the show, is an amazing actor and has such an
dead? He
has unfortunately recently passed away, I believe. But iconically does the voice of the Shredder, if you don't know that, and other cartoon voices, is very famous for some of his cartoon voices, but kills it in the Fresh Prince. The chemistry between Will and Carlton and the way they play off each other, and all the rest of the members of the cast, very hilarious show, great, unique concept, interesting concept, works really well, holds up. The Walking Dead is still going on. This show sucks. Trust me, there's nothing we don't want to talk about more than The Walking Dead right now. Next to the show, I never really watched, but every time I said anything good about How I Met Your Mother, someone mentioned this show called The In-Betweeners. It's a show that I believe How I Met Your Mother was somewhat based on, and it's a BBC show.
I was going to watch that a couple times.
Yeah, I never gave it a shot, but I've heard good things about it. Next in this show is a show called Broad City, Gavin and Stacey. Number 53, got to stop here and talk about the amazing, the wonderful News fucking Radio. What a show. I would put it higher on that list for me, one of my favorite shows altogether, one of the best formulated casts from beginning to end. Stephen Root, Andy Dick, Dave Foley, Vicki Lewis, and of course the amazing, the incredible, unbelievable Phil Hartman. Such an amazing put together cast. Unbelievable show. If you haven't watched it, I don't know if it holds up. I'm hoping it does, but it's what was one of.
So I started watching again like a month ago, 2 months ago, or maybe in the summer. And as far as it holding up, it's like season 1 is not as funny as I remember it being, and it's still funny.
Yeah. Pop Comedy says, so we're talking about Pop Cat. I'm sorry. We're talking about comedy here. Yes. So we can talk about the current state of The Walking Dead a little bit because it is a fucking comedy. But yeah, we're talking about half an hour situational comedies. News Radio is very underrated. It was underrated at the time it was on, and I think it's underrated. I think I historically like it.
Well,
Phil Hartman.
Well, and that's the thing. It's another one of those shows like Jay mentions earlier in his voicemail when we talked about 2.5 Men. It's another one that is split because it loses an extremely important cast member.
Who replaces him? Does Lovitz replace him?
Yeah, Lovitz replaces him. They
Ugh. I like Lovitz, but he's no replacement.
He isn't. It's off-putting. It's very, very off-putting, the character they bring in. And I still watched it. I still enjoyed it, but it's a different show.
I sort of blocked out the I blocked out the Lovitz of it all. And it's almost similar to when what did Charlie Sheen take over for Michael J. Fox on but it worked. I still watched that. Yeah,
I liked it too.
That's because Charlie Sheen beyond anything else is still a funny ass fuck when he wants to be.
Also, I think it has to do with how he took over. He didn't take over because Michael J. Fox quit because of some. No,
he stepped down because he had to.
Right, he didn't really even have to. They asked him to. He stepped away because he had to.
Yeah, he wanted to get his health stuff under control a little bit. So yeah, Dave Foley was amazing, and I think Dave Foley, Kids in the Hall. I think Dave Foley, he's done stuff since then, but he's so iconically 90s. His comedy, almost similar to where Mike Myers hasn't held up to. They're both so 90s comedy in some ways. And Dave Foley's a funny guy, though. He's an immensely talented dude.
Kids in the Hall was amazing.
Kids in the Hall
Radio is amazing. Everything I've seen him in since, every little character that he comes through, every time he ends up on my screen, I'm happy to see him.
Now, Popcat says, I see you streamed Only Murders in the Building. When is the next season coming? Hopefully they don't make more than 2 or 3 seasons, because if they do, it will suck. I hope they don't bleed it out either. I do know there's going to be a season 2. I don't know if it's going to go past that. I am fearful of season 2. I would say we'll see it around.
It definitely shouldn't go more than 2 seasons. But season 1 was good. It could have even been just a standalone.
I kind of wanted it to be standalone, and I'm scared of a second season because I feel like that first season was so well done. And Joe, I'm glad you liked it, because it's one of those shows while I'm watching it, I'm like, I hope Joe likes this because I don't want him to shit all over it for me. But it was
it's fucking good.
It's charming. It's charming.
I like a no, that's a good show. We get, as fans of these guys who put out movies, that I really liked when I was younger that do kind of hold up, like the Three Amigos, right?
Yeah.
Like this was fun to see them together.
Yeah,
again.
and Steve Martin especially, towards the end, like the physical comedy he does in that last episode, like he's I'm glad to see Steve Martin still killing it. Anyways, so News Radio, great fucking series, very underrated. I Love Lucy has not been. I bet I Love Lucy is going to be in the top 10. The next series is Black Adder, which is another Rowan Atkinson series, which has a lot of fanfare. Next is Will and Grace at number 51. We're finally there, Joe. We're finally there. We've made it. It's happening. We've done it. It's been a long road, but we're in the top 50 here. And
my goodness.
And here we go. Here we go. It's loading. Number 50. Here we go. This is what you actually tuned in for, or this is what Joe tuned in for. We're in our top list here. Number 50 on this list is Big Bang Theory. I understand it has its fans. It's a horrible shit show. I don't like it. I like a couple of the characters. I like two of the nerd characters that aren't Sheldon and Galecki. Those other two characters I kind of like, and I kind of like Penny because I like Kelly Cuoco. I think she's good in other things. But the series, and I like Blossom when she shows up.
I like everybody but Sheldon, and he unfortunately he ruins every scene he's in for me.
I don't like Galecki too. I don't like Sheldon or what's his name. And I
don't like Dave. I don't like Dave and Roseanne.
Yeah, I don't like him in Roseanne. I think he ruins Roseanne scenes too. Yeah,
I like him in this.
Oh, you like him in that? Okay. I'm just not a big fan of the performer. The only thing I like him in is the Suicide Kings movie, the movie with Christopher Walken and stuff. I think he's awesome in that movie because he plays up his annoyingness in that movie. But I know Big Bang Theory has its fans. It has a lot of fans. A fucking metric ton of fucking fans. And
I like all the subject matter.
Me too.
Really think
but it's fucking terrible trash. It's written so pandering to nerd culture. It's a fucking joke. It's like the movie. I don't know. It's the same shit happened in grunge culture, and we're old dudes, so we fucking can see it happen in multiple generations and how they exploited fucking grunge culture when that came up and all that sort of shit. And now they're doing the same thing with nerd. And this show is like the poster boy of exploitation of nerd culture to me. And I know that sounds ridiculous. That sounds so like elite. Like I like this band before they were famous, but whatever. It just seems like it's like, how can we make money off the nerds thing? Let's make this show. And that's what it smells like to me, you know. And even the guest appearances like Will Wheaton and like all the crossover shit that they have on there is so pandery shit to me. And I know it has its fans, and I'm sorry to the people that like the show. I just find I can't even sit through a fucking episode. It's trash. But it has lots of fans, and I just insulted all of them. Like I said, I'm going to mention a show that you think's fucking trash. Here comes the one that I like that some people might think is trash. That 70s Show. I like that 70s Show, except for the last season. Until they brought on the blonde dude and fucking
that turns it right instant trash.
Instant fucking trash. Peter Griffin says, Big Bang Theory better than the Golden Girls. Not gonna fucking lie. Giggity, giggity, giggity. Can I block Peter Griffin, or is that rude? No, I'm kidding, Peter Griffin. That's what we're here for.
You might have to.
I don't know if that's a troll though. I can't fucking tell. Jay says, you guys have no taste in the show. The show is amazing. I sense a Jay message coming in soon, yelling at us for his love of Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory is horrible, dude.
Again.
Sorry. Prove me wrong. Tell me how we're wrong about it being good. Don't just say we're dumb and we're stupid for not believing in the BBC.
And again, wait, Joe. Let's say this off. If you like Big Bang Theory, that's awesome. I'm glad that you like it. I think maybe you get something I don't. I'm not saying fuck you.
You definitely you're in on the joke, man. I'm just not in on it.
I'm in on it. But that's the thing about.
Maybe it's because they're laughing at me.
They're laughing.
Is that it?
No,
Are they laughing at us, Phil?
No, we're not.
No,
we're not important enough. But I think what I'm saying is, I know you hate when I say this, Joe, but I really do believe this. I'm not saying this in a wise ass way. Comedy is subjective, and sitcoms are subjective. I can't tell someone they don't find it funny. I don't find this show funny, that show funny. What some people might not find something I find funny. I just can't get into Big Bang Theory.
Right, because it's trash.
And like Merle says, Phil, that 70s show was crap, and yet I loved it. There's a lot of good work, that 70s show in the early years. I think I've watched more Young Sheldon than Big Bang Theory. Noreen says, Phil, you're right about Big Bang Theory. I think my cousin would be offended, said Popcat. But yeah, see, for whatever it's worth, and like I had an ex that was offended that I hated Big Bang Theory so much, or certain bands that they liked. And I, have to open my big mouth and go, you like that band? You're going to see that band tonight? That band sucks. The band that's after a date in March. Oh, that's horrible. You're going to see that band? That's trash. So like everyone has their, shit that they like and shit they don't like. And I never judge in the sense of like, you're foolish for liking anything unless you like, I'm trying to think. Unless.
Oh, yeah, like what you like. Be you. You be you. Just know that I'm going to tell you what I think of it too.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion.
That 70s show was...
You're not trash. That
show is trash. Exactly, Joe. You're not trash. Your opinions aren't trash. But the show, from my perspective, is fucking trash. So, and some people feel that way about that 70s show too. And that 70s show is hit or miss. Even in its best productions, it's kind of a shit show. It's not particularly amazing, but I find Red and Kitty especially hilarious, and I find some of the scenarios fucking ridiculously awesome.
The first season especially of that show was absolutely downright hilarious.
Yeah. And then we got that 70s show. Here we're getting into the nitty-gritty of awesome fucking shows here, right here. I think arguably anything in this top 50, even Big Bang Theory, has its fan bases and that are really passionate about the show, and they're great for them. I don't think there's going to be anything in this top 50 that's really a shitty show.
If Broke Girls is there,
it can't be. It can't be. There's no way that Big Bang Theory isn't the highest Chuck Lorre kind of one of those shows. Broke Girls is not on this fucking list. It better not be. That is a fucking horrible piece of shit of a show. That's my least.
Chuck Lorre has done so many shows. Are you kidding me?
But I'm saying like those modern era, like when I consider his.
There's probably a few Chuck Lorres on here that we don't even know about. Like he's prolific.
Right, but I mean like this modern era Lorre show, like The Big Bang Theory, Two Broke Girls, and 2.5 Men. I think Big Bang Theory would be the highest of these shows. So okay, that 70s show. The next show is fucking hilarious, starring one of the most funny human beings to ever walk the earth. And I watched this show at nauseum as a kid and loved every fucking second of it. Cannot say enough awesome things about the show, and it's forgotten about to a sense over time. It's Sanford and Son with Red Fox. Unbelievably written, unbelievable. Basically just stand-up comedy for Red Fox. But really, I mean, it was no show ever, except for maybe Seinfeld, was just a vehicle for the main comedian star to just do his stand-up. But basically, it was just Red Fox doing stand-up. And through the whole, he had interactions with other characters. There were storylines, but coming to see you. What?
That was a good show. I liked that show.
Great show. Deserves to be in this top 50. Oh God, another one deserves to be in this top 50. Unbelievable. Both of these, and I'm glad. And I would probably put this one higher than the other one that's going to be higher on this list. But neither one's the wrong answer here, and that is Newhart. This is the Newhart Show, meaning the one where he owned. Vermont show, Daryl, brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl. People are talking about Daryl in the chat right now. Yep, this show. I think I liked Newhart better than the Bob Newhart Show, but that's just.
He died like 2 weeks ago.
I know. But amazing show. It had one of the best joke endings in the world, where it all ends up being a dream. Great show. I very much loved it, Joe. I don't know if you were a fan of Newhart or not.
It's not just that it all ends up being a dream. It all ends up being a dream from the original show.
Yeah, from the
Bob Newhart Show.
Thank you.
Which makes that part of the Bob Newhart Show to begin with. So, even though it's not, it is. It's all one big show. Like that's like and that ending was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. It was one of the best movie television ending type things that I've ever seen. So to continue here, number 46, as we're getting closer to the end here, the Dick Van Dyke Show. We talked about Jerry Van Dyke before. Great cast. Dick Van Dyke, Mary Tyler Moore. I don't know if it holds up quite as much. I mean, it's a classic kind of show. It's not one of my favorites, but I understand the respect that it gets historically with there. Tonight, we're just talking about TV shows, but we're going to start doing these Sunday night discussions like this while we're not having shows to recap, where Joe and I just kind of go on riffs like this on different topics. We'll figure out what we're going to do next week by the end here. We might do animated. We might do a movie topic kind of thing. We did one of these where we did the X-Men movie franchise. Maybe we'll do the Spider-Man movie franchise, considering there's a new Spider-Man movie coming up soon. Might be a good time to rank all those Spider-Man movies. Maybe we'll do that next week or the next time. I will talk to Joe off air. But yeah, that might be topical, considering there's a new Spider-Man movie coming up soon. So the Dick Van Dyke Show is next. Next is a show I haven't heard of, which I feel like I shouldn't see shows I haven't heard of. But this is, to Joe's point, this is an international list. So some shows I won't have seen or heard. It's called Peep Show from 2003. Next is a show called The Bob Newhart Show, which we talked about a little bit before. It's the parent show. One of the, again, I would think some people that are fans of this show would say one of the tightest casts with the most chemistry in history. The Bob.
But here's the thing: if you don't dig on Bob Newhart, this show is not for you.
How can you not dig on Bob Newhart's humor, though?
Some people just don't like Bob Newhart. It took me a while to warm up to Bob Newhart. I didn't really particularly like the original Bob Newhart show, and then I didn't really like Newhart until it was almost done with. And then I really liked it. I thought it was so good.
Yeah, once you get and again, it's not like, oh, if you don't get it, but some people don't find some people funny. But when you get Bob Newhart's humor, you realize he's so quick. He's so fucking quick, and he plays that thing so well. It's ridiculous. And yeah, I think him and Sherman Hemsley are two of the most sneaky talented people to ever be the stars of shows. And Sherman Hemsley from the Jeffersons in 227. Yeah. I think they you forget about them. They're sneaky, amazing, and quick, and incredible fucking talents. Dick Van Dyke is hilarious. Obviously, all the stuff he did throughout Disney history, and Jerry Van Dyke I mentioned him during Coach, one of my favorite. This next show, excuse me, I spoke incorrectly. This is the show, I believe, that is compared to How I Met Your Mother. It's the 2000 series called Coupling. I've heard lots of things about Coupling. I haven't actually watched it, but it's another, I believe, BBC series that has a lot of, compared a lot to How I Met Your Mother, that I've heard How I Met Your Mother is a poor representation of what Coupling does. So I do want to mention Coupling. And again, we've got another series that Joe mentioned earlier in the show. And yes, it is here, right here. Are You Being Served? 1972 series. Great, hilarious series. Probably a lot of Americans' first introduction to BBC humor. And
look at the time that's from, and realize how far behind America is in sitcom. In risque,
in a lot of ways. In risque kind of humor. Next up in this list, you mentioned this one earlier too. A great series. I don't give a fuck. Louie from 2010. Amazing put together show. One of the best written and edited television shows I've ever seen. Fun. So dark, and also very much in a way Community, themed shows. Is this the show? They had the Seinfeld.
It's not really dark, but it's like
sardonic.
So
have a good night, Popcat. Thank you so much, buddy.
Want to go out and have a bang because of that shit.
And DJ Better says, I agree with Joe. I didn't think Bob Newhart was funny at the beginning. He is an acquired taste. I absolutely agree with that. There's a subtlety to Bob Newhart that maybe you might not like. Next
he's great in the Librarian movies. I don't know if you ever watched those.
No, I didn't.
Oh, they're fucking great, dude. Noah Wyle. That's his name from ER.
These next two, say what you want about the second of the two. I'm going to talk. We got number 39, which is 0%. But number 40 and number 38, I think, are both low. And we're going to try to talk about one of these without talking about the big fucking colossal fucking turd in the way. But number 40 is All in the Family, which I think would be top 10 for me.
Holy shit.
Yeah, number 40
number 40?
40.
That's definitely a top 10. I struggle for that not to be in my top 5.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about All in the Family. Like, one of the most interesting put together casts, with Archie being the biggest bigot in the history of the universe, and then you had Sally Struthers as his daughter. You had what's the actor and these Ron
Meathead?
Meathead. What's Meathead's name?
Oh, dude, that's
Reiner.
That's what's his name, kid?
Yeah, Carl Reiner's kid. Rob Reiner.
Carl Reiner's kid.
Rob Reiner, who directed The Princess Bride and It's in Spinal Tap and stuff. And then you had the sneaky star of the show. Everyone wants to say Archie's the star of the show. He was, but Edith is Edith steals every fucking goddamn fucking scene.
Absolutely fucking yeah.
She's so good. Jean Stapleton as Edith, and Marissa Tomei does a really great version of her in the recreation. But Jean Stapleton she's the star of the show. I know Archie gives the credit, but she gets all the biggest laughs from me, like rewatching. I think that
she's the one that sets up. She's the one that sets it all up.
Yeah, her daffiness is historically amazing. I think All in the Family could be an argument for the best series of all time.
And she's so sweet.
Yeah.
Like, she's the nicest fucking person, and which only highlights, Archie's just the disgusting person.
Oh, if we were making a list on the top 5 most disgusting television characters of all time, it would be hard competition between Archie and Cartman. Those two would be like 1-2. I think Cartman might edge him out a little bit, but they're close. And Archie's a horrible fucking human being, and he plays it so earnestly and hilariously. Yes, All in the Family is based on the Targaryens. Archie is Daemon.
Zach Morris would be up there in that list.
Oh, the Bernie Mac show was a little bit early. I passed.
Oh, Bernie Mac that was a good show.
Yeah,
it took a little bit for me to warm up to, but it was really
Bernie Mac.
good.
I forgot. Bernie Mac. I think I zipped past a little bit, but Bernie Mac was at number. Bernie Mac is at number 39 there. Great fucking series. Amazing.
Oh, we haven't even gone to him yet.
Yeah, we're right in there. Great series, amazing stuff, and I think it's a shame that right when his star sort of hit, he passed away, because I think he would have done amazing things moving forward. Okay, Joe, we're here. We got to talk about it. It's low on this list because of how iconic it was. Of all the family drama, family comedies in the 80s, there was one ring to rule them all. One ring to bind them, whether it was Family Ties.
Moonlighting?
No, not Moonlighting. Whether it was Family Ties.
I don't know if that fits a sitcom.
No. We'll get to I think Moonlighting might be on here, but no, I'm talking about
Who's the Boss.
All those shows you're mentioning had one show that consistently kicked their ass in both quality and ratings, and it's a tough show to talk about because we already talked about its spinoff. But I think it's low on this list because I think it's one of the most highest quality produced family comedies of all time, and that is the fucking Cosby Show. The Cosby Show is a tough show to talk about with the fucking colossal douchebag that is Bill Cosby. We're going to attempt to talk about this without talking about Bill. So
I never thought the Cosby Show was funny.
I loved the Cosby Show, and I thought
but
it was.
You thought it was funny?
Yes, I thought Bill Cosby was hilarious. I still think Bill Cosby, back in the Cosby Show days and on his stand-up, the shit, I found it hilarious. I really did. Him and Theo's interaction in an episode when he was, especially that episode when Theo is, he makes Theo rent the apartment in the house. I had a huge crush on 2 of the characters with Felicia Rashad and Denise Huxtable there. I thought some of the interactions and the ridiculosity about the kids not leaving the house and constantly coming home was very funny. I thought it was interesting when we got to hear about learn about jazz music as a musician. I learned more about jazz music and shit like that through the Cosby Show too than I would have learned in recording arts, and introduced a lot of different actors and shit like that you wouldn't have heard.
Sure. Okay.
It was produced at a higher quality and holds up better than Family Ties or Growing Pains or any of those other shows.
I mean, you make a lot of really decent
and
points.
I found it funny watching Bill Cosby eat a hoagie and stuff like that.
Funny.
For you, it wasn't funny. I hear you. Some people don't. Like I said, these things are. I watched it every week. Historically, that and Cheers, that was a big night for me, and I laughed my fucking living ass off watching the Cosby Show every week. I did. I loved it, yeah. I did. I loved because it was all about eventually it got hilarious because of the kids not leaving the house and them trying to get a life, and the kids kept coming back, and every time they left they coming back, and every good thing that they did the kids kept fucking shit up, and it was a fun sort of parallel, and so these ridiculous situations would build up, and I don't know, I very much loved the Cosby Show, and I thought it was really well written for the era. So Night Court was mentioned earlier, Ellie, and I think it should be much higher on this list. I like Night Court better than The Cosby Show. But I'm saying it was, of those family ones, it was the ring to rule them all.
Full Houses and the...
Any family sitcom, The Cosby was the best produced one. It's just was. I mean, yeah, you had Michael J. Fox on one. Yeah, you had Kirk Camp.
Until Married with Children came along.
Fair.
And then it showed you don't have to be well produced, and you don't even have to be a nice family.
Real white. If you didn't like the Cosby Show, there's something wrong, says Scott. Meaning even if you didn't, because you feel almost probably similar to Cosby that you felt with the Brady Bunch. You could see that it was quality, it was good, but it just didn't make you laugh. You felt like it was more lesson oriented or family or okay. So I hear you. It got a little different as time went on, but those first seasons are very family oriented. And Married with Children and The Simpsons sold themselves on we're not the fucking Cosbys. So
exactly.
And we're real families. We're not the fucking Cosbys. But I guess what I'm saying is it belongs at the top of the 80s mountain of those 80s family shits that happened.
Absolutely.
Except for Cheers. Except for Cheers.
In the eyes of the public, it was huge for a long time.
The biggest ratings destructor. Fucking destructor. And it's hard to talk about it with everything that happens because Bill Cosby's a scumsuckle. But it's you got to give the devil is due for his TV series being one of the most iconic, famous, huge television shows. We're not talking about whether Bill Cosby's a scum piece of shit, son of a fuck. We're talking about whether the Cosby Show was one of the biggest shows in all time and one of the best produced sitcoms, and it was. Next, another great show, Andy Griffin Show. Andy Griffin, Ron Howard, Don Knotts. Can't say anything bad about the fucking Andy Griffin Show. Belongs in this top 35 here. Okay, Joe, it's low, so maybe you won't hate me for it as much. I think it should be higher. It is at number 36, The Honeymooners. The Honeymooners is one of the beginnings. Obviously, I Love Lucy is going to be higher here on this list than The Honeymooners, but which I could see it's more of a completed show. The Honeymooners is based off the Jackie Gleason skit that was the Jackie Gleason show. To Joe's point, it was never more than an expanded skit. It was like saying an episode on Jackie Gleason hosted a show that was not dissimilar to Saturday Night Live. He hosted it for 30 fucking years, and he would produce all these different shorts, different little bits. One of them was The Honeymooners. It became a series for a while, but ultimately it didn't amount to much more than that little series. What did it do? It influenced the Flintstones, and influenced King of Queens, and influenced so many series yet to come. It's one of the most iconic series of all time to influence things. But to Joe's point before he even says it, is it the most well-produced sitcom of all time? No. But it is in the same way that Robert Johnson's Blues isn't the most evolved blues. What Buddy Guy did with it later, what Jimmy Page did with it later was fucking amazing. But you still needed the person to start the shit off. And Jackie Gleason kind of started the shit off. That's it. You know, like I get what you're saying, Joe. We've always had this argument about the Honeymooners. I agree with you, but it's one of my favorite things, like, because it's nostalgic for me. Okay, so we haven't said Roseanne yet, and I'm actually kind of surprised that Roseanne hasn't been mentioned. I guess it's higher on this list. I would assume if we're gone this far without mentioning it, Roseanne will be mentioned.
We've mentioned it.
We've mentioned it, but it hasn't been said. It's not on this list yet. This next one, I think it would be higher if the ending didn't suck royal ass cock, because I think it's one of the best sitcoms in the modern era, and that's 2005's How I Met Your Mother. Almost similar to Game of Thrones, How I Met Your Mother has been soiled by the negative response to the ending. Almost like nothing we've ever seen before. Not the Sopranos ending, not Breaking Bad's ending, not like other endings that make people say maybe or saying elsewhere, or JR's whatever getting shot, like whatever things that pissed people off. Like nothing.
Because of the ending, you'll hear everybody say, "Don't bother watching it."
Yeah. People, would you advise people to skip it because of the ending?
Game of Thrones, I would never tell anybody. I don't.
No, not Game of Thrones. How I Met Your Mother.
Yes, I'd say no. I don't tell anybody. I wouldn't tell anybody to watch it.
The Mandalorian should be a sitcom. Wonder where Roseanne comes in the list. The original, anyways, before she went fucking nuts. The Honeymoon influenced reruns, along with the I Love Lucy ones, the few sitcoms with 3 cameras. Absolutely Noreen. And that's where I got to be into it. Like the Honeymooners, I Love Lucy, the Monkees, the Batman Show. Those shows defined my childhood in a lot of ways. Because I would watch them on repeat over, and Happy Days too, over and over again, and the Bugs Bunny cartoons. Like those things were just on constantly during the day when we were kids, when Joe and I's generation were kids, constantly. Like, and then you got into like Nick and Night and shit, but I'm saying even before that, like during the day, those era programs were just on nauseum because sitcoms were huge, so they just fucking broadcast everything. How I Met Your Mother, at a certain point in time, I would say was one of my favorite shows of all time. You know how into it I was, Joe. Yeah. I got way into it. And it broke my heart. It hurts me worse than my divorce, what happened with How I Met Your Mother, Joe. That show failed me. That failed me. Oh my God. They had a simple thing and they cast the right girl. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like the woman that they cast for the mother was perfect casting. They actually figured that out, which was very difficult. They did it. They had chemistry. They had a way to end this strong. There's an alternate ending that you can get in the DVD and you can see on YouTube. And in future releases of the Blu-ray and the DVD, they put the new ending that is perfect. But it doesn't matter. That's not what I watched. That's not what built it up. And it's not just that, and it's not just the final episode. It's the whole final fucking stupid season that led up to fucking Barney and Robin's wedding. Spoiler alert, just to divorce Barney and Robin 5 fucking minutes later to stick Ted with fucking Robin. A punch of fucking horse shit on How I Met Your Mother ending. Pissed me off more than anything, Joe, because you know how invested in that shit I was. More than you were invested in it, but you liked the series a lot. But I used to have you over at my house in Levitt Street and make you watch clips of How I Met Your Mother at nauseum. You know, I got Nick into it. I got people that aren't into shit like that. I got people on board to that fucking shit. And it disappointed me. It fucking sucked.
Disappointed everybody.
It did. Here's a show next on this list that I never watched, but I hear nothing but amazing things. Cleans up in the award shows every year it's nominated. And that is the new, not the other Ed O'Neill show, this Ed O'Neill show, Modern Family. Joe, are you a fan of Modern Family? I've never watched a single episode.
Yep, Modern Family is a good show.
Is it worth checking it out?
I don't know if you'd like it. That'll probably get you to check it out quicker than me telling you to watch it.
No, that's not necessarily. You know what I like when it comes to comedy and stuff.
Modern Family. Hated Modern Family. No, we watch Modern Family.
We got people that are wondering. We got a good Katie Crew appearance in the background here. Ooh, okay. Yeah. Now let's go to the live chat. I waited to see How I Met Your Mother to see if the ending would be good. Lost broke my heart. I'm going to be doing a podcast. I've been wanting to do it for a while, and I'm saying it now in case anyone else steals it. I'm going to do a horrible endings that disappointed you podcast with I've been wanting to get a certain guest on it, and I'm working to get it. So here comes another one that I think is possibly, when it goes down, maybe one of, even though I'm not completely caught up with it because there's so many episodes, and Joe mentioned it earlier, needing to find its audience. I think it definitely belongs up here on this list, and it is the amazing, the wonderful, it just perseveres. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia
is amazing.
Wow. I can't believe this show started in 2005 and we're coming upon 2022 and the show is still fucking going strong, dude. Like there's
it's an amazing show. Freaking Danny DeVito, right?
I'm sorry, it makes me laugh just thinking of Danny DeVito.
He in Taxi is great, right?
We'll talk about Taxi in a bit, I bet.
But I'm just kind of breezing through. He's great in it, and then he gets into like movies. He becomes a pretty good movie star for a while.
Yeah, pretty huge,
right? And then you don't really see him, maybe here and there in a couple things, but like
Space
movies
Jam.
mostly only. And then he comes back to Always Sunny and is just above and beyond. Like, that show's good, but with him on it, with him playing that role,
dude, and the whole story behind it too, where he was watching the first season, he's like, I belong on this show, and then he just put himself on this show. It's just one of the most amazing stories of all time. And we got a text message, and if anyone wants to leave us a voicemail, you can do that at 781-990-8509. We're rounding up. We got 30 more. We're coming toward the end of this list here. So please get your thoughts in. If we haven't mentioned your favorite, let us know what we're missing or where we're fucking wrong. Joan says on the text line, if you haven't watched Happy Endings, this list is illegitimate. Love you guys, Joan. So
Happy Endings sounds familiar. I think I've watched that.
Always Sunny is still on. Yes, it is. The new season is coming out very soon, I believe. And Charlie Day is going to be the voice of Luigi in the new Super Mario Brothers movie, which I totally can see. So next on this list is a show that I think gets forgotten about over time, but Joe and I have a very special connection with this show because of someone we very much love and miss, who has passed away, and her sister and her friend Kathy were huge fans of this show. I don't know if Joe remembers how much of a fans of that show they were. And that is, of course, the amazing, the incredible show, Absolutely Fabulous. Now,
yeah,
Absolutely Fabulous.
Oh my God,
dude, they were obsessed with that show.
The world was obsessed with that show, and for good reason. That's a really good show.
Yeah, dude, I agree. And it's like, and again, it gets forgotten about over time, but it is so fucking funny. It's so fucking funny. Excuse me. It's one of the most hilarious series of all time. It follows these really fucked up women that are just drunks. Just drunks. And pill poppers.
I don't know if they do other drugs too.
I think they pop like ludes and shit like that and pills and stuff. Ab Fab it's forgotten about through history, and it's one of my favorite series of all time. I got into it because a friend of ours, a mutual friend of Joe and I's, Jen, who has since passed, rest in peace to the wonderful Jen, was a huge fan with her whole group of friends. Like, they were obsessed by the series, and they kind of got us into it. Or I don't know about you, but she definitely got me into it. Then vis-a-vis, I got you into it. And they just killed it, and they sort of embodied in a lot of ways those characters in real life, and amazing series. If you haven't watched it, at least watch some clips on YouTube. It's really, really, really surreal kind of fun stuff, and out there humor, like dark, fun humor. It's the British version, Real YT. Shout out to even earlier deep cuts like My Three Sons, Coach Junction, Green Acres, F Troop. We talked about Green Acres a little bit. My Three Sons is definitely a good one. Dennis the Menace is another really good. Holy shit! Fucking Fernandez T with another super chat donation. fucking holy shit, Fernandez T. You don't understand, everyone. The super chats mean more than ever right now. Thank you so much, Fernandez. Cheers to you, buddy. You are amazing with how much love you showed myself and Tony in the super chats and popping in the live chat. You're incredible, buddy. Thank you as always. Let me fucking drink this shit. Let me play this shit. Let me play one more for you, Fernandez T. Yes, my neighbor's gone tonight. So Fernandez T is the motherfucking G. Okay, sorry. It's late, so I don't feel like I can play too loud. But everyone, thank you so much, Fernandez T. I'm lazy and I'm not getting up to spin the wheel, but we'll pretend you got a drum solo and a shot there. I'm getting drunky. So thank you so much, Fernandez T, for that super chat donation. You were fucking amazing. I love Ab Fab, Fernandez T. Really great show. We watched so much of it, or myself, not anybody else. I, had some mushroom pizza and watched a lot of episodes of Ab Fab. A lot of good stuff. So thank you so much, buddy. Very much appreciated. Next on this list is a show that sorry, Lotus. Lotus is like, why are you playing drums, asshole? The Mighty Bosch. I've never heard of this series, so let's skip it. Next in the series, I would have this obvious
Amazon Prime series. I haven't watched it.
Okay. I would obviously have this series much higher because it's in my top 5. Duh. And that is at number 30, the medical drama the medical dramedy a little bit, but comedy Scrubs.
No, it's a situational.
It's a situational comedy. It's definitely a comedy. It definitely has some dramatic moments at times. Scrubs is one of my favorite series, and I don't know Joe, who probably he's here, so I'm like saying this as Joe's here, who is
I'm a fan of that show.
But I know you're a fan of the show. But what I'm about to say right here, like so many people that I've talked to, and maybe Joe will disagree with this, but because Joe comes from a family of nurses and medical professionals, him included, and a lot of my closest friends are, and people I know, neighbors. I've heard, even though it's a ridiculous, over-the-top comedy, and there's so many other series that take the subject matter so serious, I've heard Scrubs in a lot of ways is the best representation of what it's like to work in a hospital or a doctor's office. Like the interactions, the craziness, the senses of humor, like some of that dark humor that they share with each other. Obviously, it's a humor version of it, and a lot of that comes from Bill Lawrence, who created the series, had a lot of doctors working, or one doctor in particular, working on the series to keep things centered around, no matter how ridiculous things got, the medical aspects of the show had to stay generally true. So I guess like what I mean by that is what I've heard from medical professionals is that the humor used on the show, that a lot of what gets people by, the people that are working, trying to save people's lives, dealing with a lot of dark situations, or like in Joe's job, dealing with a lot of dark situations in dealing with people with mental health issues and stuff, that the only way to get through that is through some dark humor at times. And you see that through Scrubs. So in the same way that I've heard people talk about like different shows and different series and different movies depicting how things really were like. So I'm not saying that's like why I like Scrubs, but I've definitely heard that a few times from a lot of people, even people that call in to the show that listen to the Scrubs podcast and stuff too. So I'm a huge fan of Scrubs. It's one of my favorite series of all time. So
yeah, it's a good show. It's a really good show. It's not anywhere near my top 5, probably not even in my top 10, but I do hold it. It's probably a top 20. Yeah,
in high regard. So next on this show is another show that gets forgotten about. Joe mentioned this earlier, but it's a Gary Shandling show at 29. Gary Shandling is an underrated talent.
Two of them. There's the Gary Shandling show, and then there's the Gary Shandling.
This is the It's Gary Shandling show, which was a show within a show. Like he was aware that he was in a show, and the audience was part of the show. Gary Shandling never did anything normal, Joe. Gary Shandling always had to be outside the box, and that's what made him awesome.
I liked the It's Gary Shandling show.
Dude, it was on Showtime. It was fucking amazing, dude. It was one of my favorite. I used to, early on, my cousin Gotti and I used to get together and watch these two shows. It was a show called Brothers, and it was a show called It's the Gary Shandling Show, and they were back-to-back on early cable programming. Brothers was about three brothers, one that came out being gay and was like, because it was the 80s and the 90s. Oh, it's a big deal. And it was a whole big thing. And then It's the Gary Shandling Show came on right afterwards, which was one of the best. Gary Shandling always made sure he had some of the best writers, whether it was this Gary Shandling Show, him hosting The Tonight Show. Everyone remembers Joan Rivers guest hosting The Tonight Show, but Gary Shandling hosted just as many as she did, basically, and he was just as remembered for that. And that's why the Larry Sanders Show was such a success, because Gary Shandling used to guest host The Tonight Show, and people wanted him doing that job. Gary Shandling he was huge. He was fucking huge.
Yeah, his shows didn't last though.
No, they never lasted. Never. Larry Sanders kind of lasted, but that's because HBO believed in it. Jackie said, "No, I don't want no scrub, Phil." Very good. Vol says, "Oh, Scrubs, very good show." Noreen says, "I have a JD Funko Pop." Oh, that's so awesome! You should call into their podcast and make him sign it. Next on the list, very, very good show that I haven't watched all of, but I'm about halfway through it, thanks to it popping on Netflix. Joe's mentioned it a couple times tonight, and I think it's important because it breaks apart other sitcoms, and it breaks apart genre, and it goes in a weird direction that almost no other show ever goes, and that is Community. Community is amazing there's going to be a lot of things higher than Community, but Community is an underrated fucking show.
Yeah, it's really good.
Extremely well written, definitely different generations of the cast. I think the original cast is the best cast. I think when you get later in the series, it waters down because what's his name, Lando there, Donald Glover leaves, and obviously Chevy leaves because of being fucking Chevy. But I think that original cast, that original prime group, is exceptionally fucking awesome and has really good chemistry. And some of those shows are some of the smartest written sitcom stuff ever, because it just rips apart every genre you could possibly imagine. And I don't even like Joel McHale, but he's so good on that show. And who I do love is what's her name, who is on Glow and BoJack and Community, who is sneakily on and Mad Men, some of my favorite shows of all time. What's her name?
The brunette. Yeah,
the brunette. People in the live chat.
I don't know her name.
I do, but I just can't think of it right now. I have like a celebrity crush on her a little bit, but she's sneakily in some of my favorite shows of all time. If people know who I'm talking about, pop it in the live chat or the comment section later. Again, we have a voicemail line if you want to call in, 781-990-8509. Let us know. And if you haven't already, I probably should have said this earlier, if you're watching this and you're enjoying this nonsense, please hit that like button. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're listening to the podcast, please leave a comment on our iTunes rating to help us get to more people. And thank you to everyone that super chats or any of our patron donators. You guys are unbelievably amazing. Okay, so next on this series is a show called Yes, Minister. Okay, no. Here we go on a show that I don't know that I like, but I don't love, but for a generation, this was their Frasier. It's Mary Tyler Moore Show. I didn't love the Mary Tyler Moore Show because it wasn't of my generation. It was my mother's generation. That was her Cheers. That was her Frasier. That was her news radio. I never really got into it in the way that the Honeymooners crossed over to me. I Love Lucy crossed over to me. Mary Tyler Moore Show never crossed over to me, but I know it's fucking awesome. It deserves to be in the top 20 or almost the top 20 here. It was one of the most fine produced shows of all time. Ed Asner, Mary Tyler Moore, Ted Knight, Gavin MacLeod, a lot of amazing people worked on this show, Joe. Did you ever get into the Mary Tyler Moore Show?
No.
Yeah, me neither. But you know it's awesome, right?
No.
Fucking asshole. The Good Place.
I know people. I know, like what you said earlier, and that you only had 3 stations to choose from. So, what else are you going to be watching?
But I definitely watched a lot of the Mary Tyler Moore Show. My mother and grandmother loved it. It was definitely one of their shows. I don't have any negative things to say about it. It was a great fucking show. Yeah, exactly, Sonic. Never got into it, but I hear nothing but amazing things about the show, and I respect to the Mary Tyler Moore Show. So yeah, Annie was great. So what the fuck? I'm gonna Google this shit. Who played Annie on Community? I'm gonna fucking freak her name.
Annie Edison was played by
Alison Brie. I have a huge crush on Alison Brie. Who the fuck?
So huge, you know her name.
Oh, sorry. Oh my god. I got a random text. I know. I usually know her name. I'm drunk. Don't blame me for being drunk. Sorry. I'm looking at random text messages that I shouldn't be looking at.
No, you shouldn't be looking at that. You're hosting a show, Phil.
I know. I'm sorry. I was looking at a work.
Little professionalism here.
I'm sorry. I fucking suck. No, because we got a voicemail. Here we go. Listen to this voicemail right now.
Always been like the fun I feel like it. Keep on bringing about so what stuff fuck you in stuff fuck you.
Yeah, Joe.
In messed up bakery.
Exactly, Joe. Shut the fuck up, Joe. Here we go. Okay, next on this list is a big one. People have mentioned it earlier. It's definitely one of the best sitcoms, I think, and deserves to be in the top 25 list. And I think it has a very amazing tight cast and one of the best actors as the lead in it. And that is Roseanne. I think people can say Roseanne's batshit crazy, and she is. But if we can give Cosby his fucking due, I'm giving Roseanne her due too. She killed it on this series, and I think the series really worked from beginning to end. And John Goodman was awesome on it too. But in every series,
George Clooney got his start there.
You just said what I was about, the opposite of what I was about to say. George Clooney did get a start there. And no, George Clooney got a start on Facts of Life, actually. But I think, and you can disagree with this, Joe, and go on here. By all means, tell me how stupid I am. My favorite part of the show was always Jackie. I fucking loved her. I think she stole the show. I didn't say the opposite. Oh, I thought you said Jackie sucked on the show.
I said New Becky sucked.
Oh, Sarah Chalk. You didn't like Sarah
from Scrubs. Yeah, that chick.
Sarah Chalk. I like what they did eventually with it, where they made people aware of it. But I think as much as Roseanne was decent on the show, and John Goodman obviously killed it, being John Goodman.
Jackie's the best part.
Jackie's the best part of the show. She's like Niles on Frasier. She's the Niles of that show. She's the Doogie of How I Met Your Mother. She's the magic sauce. She's the Jerry Van Dyke of Coach. She's what makes the show special. And I don't know the actress's name, and I suck that I don't know the actress's name. Laurie Metcalf. Laurie Metcalf's the best part of the fucking show. Roseanne was groundbreaking, amazing. Not really. Roseanne was always my favorite as a kid, right there with Married with Children. Where does this list is from fucking Rotten Tomatoes. It's a Rotten Tomatoes editorial top 200 comedy, 30 situational comedy list. And we're basically just using it as a jumping off point to be able to talk about a bunch of fucking sitcoms. So we're not holding a lot of weight in the list. At the end of all of this, we're getting towards the end here. We're going to, and this is why we started earlier. Usually we start at 10. It's 10 and we're almost done here.
Phil told me this would be an hour long.
Sorry, Joe.
What are we working on here?
Trust me, I know you secretly you love it, Joe. Don't let me get into this. So Roseanne, blame me. It's all my fault. Roseanne, death and everything in between. That's why we're starting early. So Roseanne, great show. So the next show I don't consider a sitcom, but I do like it from what I've seen so far. That's the marvelous Miss Maisel. Okay,
Yeah.
low on this fucking list, and people mentioned number 23, one of my favorites. And I don't know how you feel about this show, Joe. I've never asked you about this one. It's that's still on right now, and the most recent episode of it is fucking hilarious. If you haven't watched it, watch it. And that's Curb Your Enthusiasm. Sort of started the whole thing with like The Office, and even though The Office Britain was before that, but I mean, like in the American sort of landscape of 30 Rock and Parks and Rec and stuff, Curb was first in a lot of ways, and I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. I think it's one of the funniest shows of all time. I might even like it more than Seinfeld. I don't know. It's close for me.
Yeah.
You're not a huge. I know you're not a huge.
I enjoyed like the first season or two,
but it ran thin on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next on this list, I don't want to dwell on.
I enjoy watching a good dick on TV, but
he's a major dick.
Eventually, dick character really wears thin.
Jackie says, "Why are you saying you suck, Joe?" No, different Jackie. I hear Curb. No, I'm kidding. I know. We had a misunderstanding there. I'm drunk. Give me a break. I heard Curb is really awesome. It's really awesome, but there is an improv element to it that might not be for everybody, and it is.
And that's another part of it that loses me too.
And it repeats a lot of themes. It's been on for 21 years, and there's a lot of repetition. There is. I love it still, but I understand it not being for everyone. Next on this list is a show that a lot of people didn't think was going to be on it. Some people in the live chat said, I don't know if this one's going to be on it, and it's on it. I don't know if you've watched this show, but I think it's one of the most well-written, funny shows ever, and it came out in 2016, and I do consider it a sitcom, and that is The Good Place with Kristen Bell, Ted Danson, William Jackson Harper, and Jamil. I don't know if you've watched The Good Place yet, Joe, but I think it's extremely hilarious. Ted Danson, especially, and Kristen Bell kill that series.
I haven't watched it.
It's funny. It's lighthearted. It's definitely a lighthearted series. It's more in the charming vein, like Only Murders. But The Good Place is exceptionally well written, very tight, and it's all about it's a heaven and hell thing. It's definitely not dissimilar to Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks, but completely different. But it uses elements of like a heaven and hell kind of dynamic. And I don't want to ruin too much of it if you haven't seen it, Joe. You might like it, you might not like it, but I would say it reminds me a little bit of Schitt's Creek and some other shows too. It has a certain charm like that, but I very much love A Good Place. Jackie C in the live chat says, Curb Your Enthusiasm is better than Seinfeld. Sorry, not sorry. I know some people that like one show and don't like the other. I definitely like both. I think I watch Curb more. Like Curb holds up more for me. Seinfeld, I go through stretches because it's more of a sitcom. Curb is more real, but there is some element of Curb that's like the ongoing adventures of George Costanza. Next on this list, just so we don't get bogged up too much here, is the Larry Sanders Show. We've talked about Gary Shandling a lot. Larry Sanders Show, I don't know if you got into it too much, Joe, is, again, one of the most well-written comedies ever. Rip Torn kills it on this show, and Jeffrey Tambor, it's the first thing I really saw Jeffrey Tambor in, playing that Ed McMahon, Andy from Conan kind of character, and very well done. Larry Sanders Show is on HBO Max. If you're like, the Game of Thrones people that got HBO Max, you're looking for random things to watch that you've never watched, I highly recommend the Larry Sanders Show. It's basically a spoof breakdown of a late night show. I don't know if you've ever watched it, Joe, or you're a fan at all.
I haven't watched it.
It's good. It's tough to get into a little bit because it's definitely got a certain language to it. Porno for Pyros play on one. Perry shows up on one, which is kind of cool. Got a lot of fun guests and stuff. It's a fun series. It's very well written. Schitt's Creek hasn't been mentioned. I do want to talk about it if it's not mentioned. I do think, just in case, I don't know if Joe watched that, but I think Schitt's Creek from beginning to end is one of the best written, put together comedy series of all time. The Eugene Levy is always a great secondary character in things, and he kills it in this. But really, what makes the series is Kathleen O'Hara. She is Lydia, or from not Lydia. Is that her name? Lydia Dietz? No, that's Beetlejuice. I'm like I said, I'm drunky, but Catherine O'Hara in that show is unbelievably hilarious, and Daniel Levy and stuff. But really a hilarious series, one of my favorites. If it's not popping up on this list, I just want to mention it. Next is Silicon Valley, which I didn't really watch. Next is Arrested Development at
Silicon Valley wasn't that bad. It was in spite of that, like, well-known kid from Deadpool.
Lily of the Fox Valley says Jeffrey Tambor was on Three's Company several times. I don't remember that. I definitely don't remember that. Number 19, here we are at Arrested Development, which I would again probably put in my top 5, Joe. Arrested Development is one of my favorite series of all time, even through the series that we got on Netflix and in the repeat offender stuff. I just fucking love and can't get enough of Arrested Development. Rest in peace to the mother that passed away recently. But I don't know. You're not a huge Arrested Development fan, right? You're not. You like it, but you're not a huge fan.
I really liked actually the first season or two. Like, I think every time they go do that chicken dance shit is fucking hilarious.
Next is Atlanta, and then The Unbreakables, Kimmy Schmidt. 2 good shows, but should not be this high on this list. Then Family Towers. Then number 15, a show that Joe and I can't wait to talk about a little bit here. We've talked a lot about it many times before, and that is, of course, Frasier at number 15. I would maybe put Frasier a lot higher on this list.
Yeah, I would too.
One of the best written comedies of all time. The interactions between all the main characters. That cast is tight. That cast is very, very tight and quick. We've talked about this a few times before, but here we are in the ultimate sitcom list here, Joe. What is better for you, Cheers or Frasier?
I'm not going to give you an answer to that.
I object to your whole questioning here, you asshole. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, that's my answer.
Atlanta was hilarious in what I've seen of it, but I'll
say I really, 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 really like Frasier.
Yeah, me too.
It holds up every second of it.
Do you think Cheers holds up just as well?
Every second of it.
Okay, next on this list is an animated one. Then we have a show called Allo Allo from 1982, a French show. Then we got Parks and Rec. I never watched Parks and Rec. Joe,
Parks and Rec is really good. It's really good.
Should it be close to the top 10 sitcoms of all time?
It's in my top 20. It's in my top 20 all time.
Lily of the Fox Valley says, I just went past Fawlty Towers and I mispronounced it. Fawlty Towers is a Basil Fawlty is an inept and slightly out of his head English hotel manager who's tortured by that annoying section. Now it's a lot
of people love it.
It's a lot of people love it. It's a John Cleese series. Ooh, I love John Cleese, but I've never seen the series Family Towers. I don't want Fawlty Towers. I think I said Family Towers. So I don't want to zip past it. Sorry. Thank you for calling me out on that, Lily. By all means, if I zip past something you guys want us to embellish on, let me know and I will go back to it. I don't want to miss anything. This is supposed to be an ultimate connection here.
It's tough here. One of the things too is when it comes to like foreign TV series, like there's one that wasn't even mentioned that it's like a huge hit in Canada for a lot of years called Corner Gas. Like, I really liked it. I know some Canadians that really hate it, but like,
you don't know, Joe. We could get to it here in a second. People in the live chat, DJ Better says Cheers was better. Jackie says, Parks and Rec is great, and Parks and Rec is great. Frasier is boring to real YT. Fair enough. I could understand that. It's a lot of dialogue.
What I was going to say, too, was that, with a lot of them, we may get to stream them and watch them all right now or whatever, but we didn't really get to experience it. They're all kind of like a 50s show because we didn't get to experience it when it was running live.
Right.
We weren't watching
And that's a different kind of feeling, Joe. Very true. Like when you're watching something live and in person, it feels a lot different.
Like there's some shows that are, I might put as because they're pretty fucking funny, they're really fucking dark, that I might put as sitcoms, but they're on Netflix or they're on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Jackie, we haven't really seen anything from those on this.
Jackie C says Squid Game is going to be number one.
Like Maisel was there. Yeah, that's a Prime show, but like there's other ones that haven't been mentioned at all because they're just not. It doesn't get the reach that TV gets.
No, not in these prime time, like to the point of like the eras that these series reached it. Like even like it's lower on this list, but like All in the Family and Happy Days especially. Now here we go into the top 11 or top 10 here. But number 11 is a show I've never watched, Joe, but I hear so many amazing things about this series. And so many people I know and love this series, but I just never given it a shot. And that is the 2006 series 30 Rock with Alec Baldwin and Tina Fey and Tracy Morgan. You're a big fan. What do you love about 30 Rock? Because I've never seen it. I love
the chemistry of the cast. I love the writing. I love all the individual characters. I think are absolutely hilarious. It's really over the top in a lot of subtle ways that I don't think, and in your face ways. There's so much in your face that it's easy to miss a lot of the subtle humor that goes on in that show. Like,
is it one of your favorite sitcoms of all time?
It's definitely a top 20. It's definitely a top 20, maybe even a top 10. It's top 10.
Top 10. Okay, interesting. Here we go. And
it's fantastic. Like Tina Fey shines in that. Tracy Morgan, best thing he ever did. Alec Baldwin's amazing. The guy that plays Kenneth is absolutely hilarious. But Gemma's okay.
So next is a series I've never watched, but again, I know that it's awesome. It constantly wins awards. I don't know why I've never given it a shot, Joe. Before we go to this next one, I think we have another text message from 734 that says Jeffrey D. Tambora was different characters on Three's Company 3 different times. You definitely saw him before Larry Sanders. And we it's a show that I've never watched, Joe. I don't know if you've ever given it a chance. I've never even started it, but it has 2 of my favorite people on it. And that is with Tony Hale and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who I think is one of the funniest human beings to ever walk the earth, whether it be on Saturday Night Live, Day by Day, or Step by Step, whatever series she was on, one of those 2, or Seinfeld, obviously. And I haven't seen Veep, but I say Veep as well.
Veep is hilarious.
And that is Veep at number 10.
Veep is good. We just watched the whole run.
Is it good? Is it worth me checking it out?
I think Julia Dreyfus is freaking amazing.
She's one of the most talented people ever to walk the face of the fucking earth.
I love the new Christine. I think is hilarious as well. I don't think we've heard from that on any of these lists.
No. We'll mention things that we miss because I have one. Obviously, Raising Hope hasn't been mentioned, and I put Raising Hope high too as well. Number 9 is The British Office, which I actually enjoy more than the American version, and I think is just really well done.
Hate The Office and like watched like a minute of the British version because it's the exact same fucking crap fest in the fucking hate it.
Okay, so number 9 is The British Office, which is one of the most popular series of all time. But I don't think either Joe and I, because I'm not gonna waste, energy arguing with you in the sense that I'm not a huge Office fan at all, either version. I do like the British version a little bit better, but I understand that The Office is because we haven't mentioned the American version yet, which is probably going to be near the top of this list. It's a lot of people love The Office show.
I really will be able to skip it if it comes up again. I really love Rainn Wilson and almost everything else I've seen him in. Can't stand him in that. I love Steve Carell and almost everything else I've seen him in. Can't stand him in that. And then the peripheral cast. I like most of them. I just think it's a boring ass, unfunny fucking show.
No, fair. I can't argue with you there because I'm not a huge fan, but I know it has its fans and it deserves its respect here on this list because more people disagree with us than agree with
I
us on
like
this one.
Park and Rec. I think that's not boring.
As Lily in the Fox Valley says in the live chat, Joe, you're wrong.
Shut the fuck up, Joe.
Yeah, but you should be listening to Real YT.
I was gonna put the Joe is always right symbol. Where's the Joe is always right? We have varying opinions in the live chat. Sorry, I'm not gonna waste time doing that. Okay, so next on this list, honestly,
let the chat fight out whether or not I'm right or wrong.
Honestly, the next on this list, I don't like this show because I just never could get into it, but I think this is low. I would probably put this, for a list like this, I would put this in the top 3 or 4. And that is at number 8. Number 8, Friends. I would probably have put Friends higher on this list.
It's a top 10.
It's a top 10. So 8, you think 8's a reasonable spot for Friends?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't like Friends. You were actually a Friends fan. You got into Friends.
I got into it well after the fact. It's a good fucking show.
Do you like Friends or Seinfeld better, which is usually...
Friends.
You like Friends better. Okay.
Friends, I'm watching now. It holds up. Seinfeld, I like it just about as much. I didn't always hate Seinfeld.
You hated Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah. And there's parts of Seinfeld I really like. And there's aspects of the show that are really good. But for the most part, it's not. I just don't like it all that much.
Do you
Friends holds up in a way where every episode they stay out of so much. I don't know. It holds up in a different way. Like I feel like I identify with the characters maybe a little bit more with our group of friends somehow. Or
do you like Friends more than How I Met Your Mother at its best?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so we go in the chat. Real YT says hate Friends too.
I see a similarity there too.
There is similar. I think there's more similarity with How I Met Your Mother than Seinfeld.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think I just like How I Met Your Mother a bit more from the character Friends standpoint. But I get it. Like I get Friends. I just don't like it. Like I get it. I give it its respect. I understand that it's a well-written, put-together show. The cast has chemistry. I even watched the reunion and I got teary-eyed sometimes. You know, I generally think all the cast members are pretty chilled people. I like them when they do guest spots and everything.
Joey and Phoebe are just hands down fucking hilarious in that.
Fair.
Like Joey good in the spin-off attempt they tried to do with Married with Children? No.
Joe,
Is he good?
Joe, how you doing?
Good in the show after that he does episodes? Yeah, that's okay, but like
he
really fucking shines. They all really shine.
No, and I hear that. Right. I just fucking hate it. I think it's trash. For me, but I know it's not trash. I think it's trash, but I know it's
come on. And
no, it's
hands down, fucking Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, fucking unreal.
No, they're great. I love Courtney Cox on Family Ties. I think Courtney Cox is great. I like all the members of it. I just can't get into it, but I know it's good. Again, I'm not arguing that it's good. I'm saying to me, it's my problem. I just can't get into it. Now, people in the live chat,
I didn't like it when it was originally on at all.
Sonic Boy, Jackie says, that's what she said. Sonic Boy says, I'm with Joe. Real YT says, I hate Friends too. Lily of the Fox Valley says, hate Friends. Sonic Boy says, never seen Friends, but I like Living Single. Good show, Living Single. Jackie sees, didn't like Rachel marrying Ross. Ross is a fake nice guy. I don't like Ross. Ross is a douchebag. He's my least favorite. He's my least favorite. He's my least favorite part of Friends. He's the only one of the friends I can't stand. I like everyone else but Ross. I don't like him on any. I just don't like that actor either. I just don't. I think whatever.
He's good in Band of Brothers.
He was good on People versus OJ too. He played a good Kardashian there. I gave up on Friends season 1 when it first aired, said Lily. Sonic says there's stories that Friends was copying Living Single. DJ says, I never liked Friends. Real YT says, during my hospital, there was only a few channels and I was forced to watch it. Maybe I just don't identify with the character. Merle says, Seinfeld sucked. Friends was good. Corey Mitchell, Married with Children has not been mentioned yet. And I'm actually very happy if it's this high, and if it's not on this list, I'm angry. Even though it maybe not hold up, it deserves to be very high on this list. I didn't think I yada past it. Married with Children's probably still to come. The jokes were dopey to me. You would be good too if you were getting $1 million an episode. Seinfeld is epic in my opinion. That's how I feel about Seinfeld too. I feel like Seinfeld is like top level, edgy, fun humor that's on a different level, but that's just my interest in something. Just like I feel the same way about Scrubs. Whatever. Okay, so let's get to a series that Joe and I can definitely agree on, because we were mentioning this a little bit earlier. A series that never really got to see its full potential because it ended too soon, but was chock filled with probably some of the most talent of any sitcom ever. And that is, of course, like everyone knows what I'm going to talk about. But of course, at number 7, it's Taxi. Now, Taxi might have been Judd Hirsch's show, but he was, to Joe's point earlier, Judd Hirsch was the only smart one. It was a bunch of fucking idiots in Judd Hirsch. But he might have been the star, and Judd Hirsch is a talented dude, but it was all about, like, you have a show that has fucking Christopher Lloyd, Andy Kaufman, and Danny fucking DeVito. I don't care, Joe, what Danny DeVito did afterwards, including Always Sunny. The greatest character Danny DeVito ever played. The best.
Louis De Palma.
Louis fucking De Palma, Joe, was the best usage of Danny DeVito's talents ever. He is the most like Danny DeVito. Maybe.
Otto, get over here.
Maybe Frank too, but like, you know, like cross between Frank and Louis is like Danny DeVito at his fucking best.
He was great in Twins.
He was great in Twins. He was great in everything. Danny DeVito's great in everything. But
great in what was that movie with Jack Nicholson there?
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Which
the other one too.
Hoffa.
Yes.
Which
both of them. He's great in everything he's in.
Literally, Danny DeVito's great in everything he's in. But I think the highlight of Danny DeVito's career, I feel like when you're watching like Michael J. Fox on Family Ties or Danny DeVito on Taxi, you're seeing a movie star on a TV show every week, and it's like or Robin Williams on Mork and Mindy. You're like spoiled because you're seeing that talent in a way that you're seeing so much of them. And I think in Taxi, Danny DeVito is just perfect. And I know Andy Kaufman kills it. All of them kill it. But for me, the highlight of Taxi is Danny DeVito. It's the best thing he's ever done for me. And I know he's done other things, and I love everything he's done. Throw Mama from the Train is one of the best movies. Some of the movies he's directed are some of my favorite movies. Death to Smoochie, an underrated movie that he directed.
Oh, great movie.
War of the Roses. Like, he's an amazing movie director and amazing talent. One of the most talented humans to ever walk the fucking earth, and Taxi is the greatest thing, one of the greatest things he's ever done. He is so schmarmy and such a douchebag and such a horrible fucking person that I love every goddamn shitty second that Louis De Palma is on my fucking screen, Joe.
He's amazing.
He's great.
Taxi's an amazing show.
And let's go in the live. And the Penguin. Yes, the cast of Taxi was just insane. And we didn't mention him earlier, but you were talking about stupid people, a lot of stupid people. One of your favorites, because he makes an appearance on what Joe considers probably the best sci-fi series of all time.
A few seasons of it.
He's a big part of Babylon, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't think of his name at the moment.
And he's
also on like Celebrity Rehab.
He was the best character in Celebrity Rehab. Oh my god.
Character. It's sad, dude.
It was sad. It was.
The
but
whole thing is sad.
It was fucking sad.
Like the you realize the bass player from Alice in Chains was on that show. He's dead. That guy was on this. Bobby Wheeler was on that show. he's now dead.
Fucking Bob.
The drummer to Guns N' Roses, I believe, was on that show. I don't think he's dead yet, or did he die also?
Steven Adler.
A lot of the people that were on that show struggling with addiction and their mental illness have passed away and died in direct result from those, and it's very unfortunate. There's a lot of talent that has, disappeared from the face of the earth, and loved ones of people. It's pretty sad.
And people say it's Rita Perlman, and she was also on Taxi, playing his girlfriend Zelda on Taxi. Taxi was a great series. Did not go on long enough to be.
They were great together in that little girl show there, that movie.
I always, Matilda, someone in the live chat just said that. I always hoped that Danny DeVito would show up on Taxi, but he never, on Cheers, but he never did. He was in the audience, and there are some episodes where I've actually seen it or heard it. Like, you can hear him in the audience laughing. You can clearly hear Danny DeVito's voice as one of the members of the audience laughing. And I believe they've broken up in recent years, but they were one of the most longest-standing Hollywood couples, right up there with Goldie and Kurt, of the really long-term Hollywood couples when it comes to Hollywood romance. They usually last a few months or a couple of years here and there. So yeah, and they still have apparently they still have a really good relationship and stuff like that. They just aren't married anymore, or aren't common law married anymore. But Rhea Perlman is amazing, and we'll get to her, I'm pretty sure, in a few minutes. We're going to skip past number 6 because we talked about it already, and it does belong its spot here, even though neither Joe and I are fans of this series. The American Office hit all kinds of successful levels that no matter how much we want to feel XYZ about it, Joe, we got to give the devil its receipts and its due right here. The Office got to a lot of fucking people. I didn't like it. I didn't get into it, but this was the biggest fucking shit for a long fucking time. And
it's horrible.
I feel the same way, and I love Steve Carell. I really do love Steve Carell. I love a lot of the members of the cast. I just never could get into it. I never could. But whatever. Number 5, which may seem low on your list because it's number 5, because I think when we're going to get into what our top 5 lists, I'm pretty sure this might be number 1 for you. I never got into this series, so tell me what you love about MASH, Joe.
Absolutely everything. The drama, the humor, the characters, the actors, the fact that, you realize we talk about shows replacing fucking people, and there's the pre-Kusher or post-Sheen 2.5 Men. There's the pre-Becky, post-Becky and Roseanne. There's all these shows. There's Hogan's Family, which was never mentioned on this.
Yeah, Hogan's Family is great. Valerie's Family, Hogan's Family, which started off the career of Jason Bateman. Great series, awesome stuff. Valerie Bertinelli, and was that her name?
Yep, Valerie Bertinelli,
and then
it went to
someone took over. And to answer your question before we get, because it's obviously not on this list, head of the class, I think I liked the first teacher better. Billy Connolly was great on that show too, but I think I liked the WKRP in Cincinnati guy better. I
did it first, and Billy grew on me, and now I give them both equal props to that show.
No, I give them both equal props too. Similar to Airplane 1 and Airplane 2 with Shatner or the other guy that was the dude on the mic. Certain people just do things awesome. Both people do things awesome. Like a show we're going to get into after you talk a little bit more about MASH. That's next. Kirsty and Shelley were both awesome.
Yep, and that's the thing. That's the mark of a good show, if you can do that, right? We've seen it happen on so many shows where it just kills a show. But a lot of times what they're doing is they're replacing a character, right? They're replacing the actress, not the character. So you have on Cheers, where it works also with Coach and Woody. Whereas on Aunt Viv does not play well with Fresh Prince, right? But MASH does it. Colonel Potter and Colonel Blake replaced. Radar goes home.
Is MASH funny to you? Do you
MASH is fucking hilarious. There's a lot of great jokes in it. and the jokes hold up. It's one of those things, like you said, where like Happy Days is the 50s, right? And it's being made in the 70s. Well, this is, the same thing. This is in the 70s and 80s.
It's set in Korea, yeah.
It's set in Korea, so it's a period piece. But they do such a great job weaving the comedy with such a dark chapter in world history, and right down to the ending where they can take this lighthearted, heavily lighthearted somehow TV show and just play with it, endear you to the characters, and at the same, in a single episode, make you cry and laugh your ass off.
So it almost sounds like
it
almost sounds like you're describing how I feel about Scrubs.
Yeah, they did that well too in a few episodes, like with the doctor and the brother-in-law that dies.
Yeah,
right?
with Brendan Fraser.
What's his name?
Brendan Fraser.
Those are heart-wrenching episodes. They're hilarious.
There's a lot of Scrubs episodes. No one balanced, and maybe MASH, because I'm not into it, but MASH is probably the only other example.
MASH is the epitome
of balancing that heartstring medical drama
comedy,
shit with dark comedy. So MASH, let's give MASH its receipts. Maybe I'll eventually give it.
Exactly. One of the main reasons why you really like Scrubs is why
MASH is so good. So
and they also do Scrubs is very slapsticky in their comedy, right? MASH is also very slapsticky in their comedy. There's a fair amount of physical comedy.
Oh, what's his name? The character that dressed in drag all the time, and what?
Yep, right. Exactly. Klinger. He's always in drag. He's always trying to get a Section 8 and get out of the military. There's this other colonel that comes in that's just you've seen him in a million.
And
things.
people in the live, someone in the live chat, Lady Starfall says Alan Alda's delivery was spot on. Alan Alda was the guy. Like everyone, like we're talking about the shows, the guys on the shows, Fonzie, Doogie. Doogie wasn't mentioned, but Doogie, Neil Patrick Harris he was on two shows, whether it be Doogie or Barney Stinson. Like the guys on the show that were the dudes, and Alan Alda was the dude on that show. He was the Dan Fielding. He was the Niles. He was the guy that was winning the awards and the face of the show, the main guy.
Yeah, and the writers were winning awards too. That show was it really was hands down amazing, and the finale episodes and stuff just ground. One of the most watched finale episodes, the most watched for years. It held that record.
Good transition, and was finally beaten by our number 4 on this list. A lot of the things you say about that with the characters, I would say the same thing in this. If you guys want to check this out, Joe and I did a whole video on this series, and that is number 4, which I would put maybe higher. Or not higher, but whatever. We're in the top here, so who cares? It's Cheers, of course. Yep. Now, Cheers, we've talked. Like I said, Joe and I have already done a whole podcast on Cheers, so I don't want to repeat ourselves too much. But I think what was amazing about Cheers is obviously the writing, the prime members of the cast, meaning like having Norm, Cliff, Carla, Sam through everything. You replaced Woody, you replaced Rebecca and Diane. And I don't know if it was happenstance or luck, but it happened to be that in both those situations, Kirstie Alley and Woody Harrelson both, in some ways, to some people, surpassed those roles. Maybe not in Shelley Long's case, but Rebecca was more comedic of a character. Where Shelley Long in those first 4 seasons, it was more romantic comedy at times, moonlighting-ish. But like in those later,
a little bit more more slapsticky, but like
a little bit though. No, you're right. It became a little bit more slapsticky and a little bit more ensemble comedy when Shelley Long left. When Shelley Long was on, it was more 2 stars with guests, with secondary actors making guest points. Occasionally people would have episodes, but when Shelley left, it really became an ensemble piece.
Everybody got involved a lot more with the show. Yep.
Yeah. And
more lines for everybody.
But both generations of Cheers were great. It was almost like Shelley left at the right time, and the show had
allowed it to keep going for a few more years.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have kept going or been as memorably remembered if Shelley Long stayed on the show and they did that don't they shit for fucking 5 more years. Yeah, 4 or 5 more years. Exactly. I think the show would have pitted off a little bit more, but because they changed the game and then became even more successful because they became more of a machine, and that writing team bumped over to Frasier and kept doing what they were doing. But I think those later years of Cheers, even maybe like all of Cheers holds up, but like those later years were funnier. So, Norm! Now let's get in the live chat. I remember Leah Remini from Saved by the Bell. Oh, yes, I absolutely remember when she came on. Was she Tori on that show or something like that? No. Oh, no, I'm thinking of a different show. I'm thinking of Tori was a different character. Leah Remini was the summer girl, like when they went to the summer thing.
She was also had her own show, like some model show, something models. I forget.
Now, number 3 on this list, I know we're not doing this, Joe, but it's The Simpsons. It's The Simpsons. The Simpsons has to be included in this sitcom list. It's the one that crosses over because of how successful and it's the longest running sitcom of all fucking time.
That doesn't matter. Oh, so because Briscoe or whatever cop it is
Fuck you, you're right.
on SVU on Law and Order cracks a joke in the opening scene of that hour-long fucking show. You want to call Law and Order a sitcom too? He cracks a joke every time. Every opening scene when Briscoe looks down at a dead body and cracks some joke about like the hooker or the pimp that's lying there
Joe.
dead or some shit, right? Like, hey, it's a sitcom now, and it's so long running and been so successful, we have to consider it a sitcom. No, it's not.
Joe, no one puts Homer in the corner.
Comedy.
No one puts Homer in the corner, dude. Shut up. But okay, The Simpsons are here. But okay, I'm just mentioning it that it's here.
It's a great show. It's one of the best. Like the first 15 seasons.
It's not 15, but it's like 7. But whatever.
Okay, well, I was trying to give it like.
You're being nice. You're being nice.
I was originally going to say like 10 or 11 seasons are like some of the best shit ever, but like I haven't been able to watch a single episode, new or old, not even a single scene in like 20 years. So
now, in fairness, we'll hold on to this. Simpsons is the highest right now, right, of the animated series, but we'll see if when we get to our animated series list, if Joe and I agree with the placement of The Simpsons.
No way.
Because I would say for me, it's you know how much I love The Simpsons in its prime, Joe. But I would say The Simpsons wouldn't necessarily almost be in my top 5 of animated series.
It's not even close to my top 5. And probably because of the back 20 years of it.
Is there a point in time when we would make an animated list where you would put The Simpsons in your top 5?
Yeah, when the first 5 years or so of The Simpsons, what was the competition?
Yeah. I mean, spoiler...
Right? Like, the competition would have been, like, the Flintstones, like the Animaniac, like Saturday morning cartoons and shit, the Jetsons. If you're going to limit it to just prime time comedies, there was only like 4 or 5 in like
if we're talking just animated, if we're talking just animated comedies, that's one thing. If we're talking animated series, I'd include like Batman the Animated Series or Invincible or
animated comedies. If
we're talking the animated
prime time animated comedies,
streaming. And on streaming, because I want you to be so you can include your Big Mouth and I can include my BoJack and that's some shit.
And not just Big Mouth, but also F is for Family.
Yeah, and for me, spoiler alert for this, but we'll do a whole show on this. It would be like BoJack, South Park, Futurama, and I'd have to think about the other two, but I don't think The Simpsons would be in there. Like
Futurama, F is for Family, Rick and Morty, and the two Seth MacFarlane that don't include Cleveland Show.
Yeah, you got to put a Seth MacFarlane show in there somewhere. But
South Park doesn't even like. I liked a couple first couple
I hear
seasons.
you. I hear you.
Ultimately.
I think South Park's still as amazing now as it ever was. And I understand people might not feel that way, but for me, those guys are the funny.
Every couple of seasons, maybe once a season, every couple of seasons, when you tell me you got to watch this particular.
Yeah, and I do
episode,
that sometimes. I'm like, Joe, watch this
episode. Watch it because I still consider myself a fan of that.
No,
show.
you're a fan of Matt and Trey. You're not necessarily a fan of South Park. And for whatever it's worth, they just signed
I love Matt and Trey. They're fucking.
And Joe, just so you know, they recently signed a deal to do like 15 movies or some shit, and only like 3 are South Park. So they're going to be doing some like movies. I think it's going to be on HBO Max. It's going to be like straight to streaming movies. They're going to be doing like a bunch of actual movies.
Right from the start, Cannibal the Musical, fucking brilliant.
Orgasmo,
like,
Team America,
Orgasmo's great.
Basketball. Yep. Even though they didn't write Basketball, in fairness,
they're still fucking hilarious.
They're hilarious in Basketball. Basketball was written by a Zucker who did Naked Gun / Airplane stuff, but still they're amazing, and I miss seeing Matt and Trey in things. So I hope.
There's a nod to that in the movie poster with the nodded cock and nodded plane.
Yeah.
I never caught that.
So
like it mocks that. It not mocks, but like gives homage to his previous. Yeah, nice.
Now,
okay, cool.
Now,
Thanks.
Joe, we've been through a lot here tonight. We're at 3 hours. Oh my God. Now, this has been a longer podcast than I expected. I said an hour.
I knew it was.
We're at 3 hours, but I'm glad. We started early tonight. It's only 10:30, so if I let you go, it's going to be very early tonight.
It's 3.5 hours we've been talking to each other.
No, 3 hours and 10 minutes we've been live.
That we've been talking to them.
Yeah, it's true. Fair. We do have a pre-show. Now, people in the live chat saying Archer. Amr, you can't have
Archer. That's like I.
No, Joe, wait.
Archer.
Joe, wait until the animated. As DJ Better saying, you can't have the discussion. Animated stuff is out. Yeah. So we're down to our top 2, Joe. Who do you think? Who haven't we mentioned? What is your guess for our top 2 here? You're no clue. You just want to hear it. Number 2.
Married with Children.
No, Married with Children isn't mentioned. So we haven't heard Married with Children yet. Let's talk about Married with Children as our biggest snub here. Because I don't want to mention a ton of snubs, but before we get into our top 2.
That's the biggest snub.
Biggest snub is Married with Children.
That changed sitcoms forever.
Yes. How is Married...
The whole family being trashy to each other.
Excuse me. How is Married with Children not anywhere on this list?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Top 200. Some of the series that we've mentioned tonight, I would put Married with Children in this top 20.
Yeah, no, if we missed it or blew by it and don't remember, okay, but to not be on the list is absolutely fucking wrong. And yeah, no, that's probably a top 20 in my personal favorites. Absolutely.
100%. Any other ones that haven't been mentioned tonight? People in the live chat, before we get into our top 2 here, because this is the last thing we're going to do tonight.
Good Times wasn't mentioned.
Is there any? What did you say wasn't mentioned?
Good Times.
Good Times wasn't mentioned. Doogie wasn't mentioned, which I really like. Raising Hope is one of my favorite series. Wasn't mentioned, which I would put even equivalent to My Name Is Earl. At least 1 for that. What other series? Anyone? People in the live chat. If
Better Things wasn't mentioned, which is a Louis C.K. produced one starring the woman that plays his wife in the original HBO, and the girl that goes out, he's like best friend, or like tries to get a date with her too in the new Louis. I forget the dark-haired chick. You know who I'm talking about?
Yes. If anyone,
Better Things, which is really good.
If anyone, Archer people, but we're talking about animated stuff in a later date. If anybody has any other series we haven't mentioned, please leave it in the chat or call in. Sanford and Son was definitely mentioned earlier. We went in a little rant about how much we love Sanford and Son. Number 2 on this list is an older series, but getting a lot more.
I Love Lucy.
I Love Lucy, Joe.
There we go. I guessed it.
It deserves it. It deserves to be this high. I like it is. Sorry, there's a fly in here. The I Love Lucy holds up a great deal, even more than the Honeymooners. As much as I prefer the Honeymooners, that 4-person cast was so tight, and those episodes still hold up to this day.
It was my number one pick. Like, if we were going to do this, if we had decided to go by decade, it was going to be my number one for the 50s.
It's hard to beat it. I like the Honeymooners more just because of my love for Jackie Gleason, but there's no doubt that I Love Lucy is the better produced show. What my favorite thing I've ever done in my life, or one of my favorite things I've ever done in my life, is play hand percussion, and my love for hand percussion came from I Love Lucy.
From Desi
Arnaz, and
right?
Desi Arnaz Jr.
A Latino lead.
The drums and shit, kicking ass on the drums and hand percussion. Like, for me as a young kid, I wanted to sound like Desi Arnaz and Desi Arnaz Jr. playing drums. That's a big part of the reason why I'm a drummer.
Was he Cuban?
I believe. I could be wrong. Sorry, Desi Arnaz Jr. If we are we fucking up your shit. We're both a little buzzed, and it's 3 hours in. But you are one of the finest casts ever in a program, and I Love Lucy deserves this point. These episodes hold up. Have you heard about the movie coming, Joe? There's a movie with Nicole Kidman playing Lucy, and I forget who's playing Ricky.
I have not.
But yeah, we're gonna have a movie coming out soon, a biopic. So I Love Lucy is amazing and deserves to be on this list. I don't know what else to say with it. My favorite episode of I Love Lucy was probably the episode where she's making wine and she's in the thing, the stepping on the wine and slipping and falling.
There's so many classic episodes of I Love Lucy.
All in Family is not number 1. All in Family is way low.
Like 130 something.
Yep. All in Family should be in this top list, 100%. All in the Family and Happy Days should be in the top 10. But I do really love I Love Lucy, and it deserves to be number 2 on this list. Number 1, just by the process of elimination, I think all you guys can figure out what number 1 on this list is, because we haven't talked about it yet. It is Seinfeld. Now, you might not like Seinfeld. You may not think it's great and perfect and whatever, but you can get why people might put Seinfeld at number 1 on a list for favorite sitcoms and best sitcoms of all time. It's very tightly written, especially once you get into it in the later seasons. All the episodes intertwine in a very unique, interestingly written way where all the stories intersect. You have a lot of amazing side characters, especially highlighting Frank Costanza with Jerry Stiller and Newman, who was mentioned earlier with Third Rock from the Sun, as some of the highlight secondary characters. But there's also a lot of other secondary characters that are amazing, a lot of one-offs. But the core group of that cast has such witty, amazing dialogue back and forth. George Costanza and Kramer and Elaine are 3 of the most iconic sitcom characters of all time. And Jerry Seinfeld's there. Like, Jerry Seinfeld's not amazing on the show. He's not a good actor. He's one of the worst actors in all of sitcom history to be in the main.
He's not acting. He's just playing himself.
Trying to play himself at times. Like, he's trying not to get in the way of 3 of the most talented people to play sitcom work with the 3 of those guys. Like, I was talking about physical comedy with Three's Company and Jack Tripper there.
Kramer's amazing with it.
Kramer is the only one that you could
of his racial or political views.
Besides all that fucking shit. That's what I'm saying. We talked about Cosby, we talked about Louis C.K. We got to talk about how, regardless of all that bullshit and all that shit fucked up shit he fucking shouldn't have said in that stand-up act.
So the show
Give the devils he do. Like, Kramer was an iconic television character and one of the greatest physical comedians of all time. Him and UHF and Seinfeld alone was legendary performances.
Yep. So if his little outburst had come years before, instead of a couple of years after the show ended, if it had come saying like the height of his of
Seinfeld's fame. Yep.
Would that show still be?
No.
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 Same thing with the Cosby Show, though, right?
No. Neither. No way. Never watched Seinfeld. That show was mainly George Costanza. George Costanza was the highlight of that show to me. Historically, Jason Alexander's portrayal of a version of Larry David is one of my favorite things in comedy and television. Seeing it versus Curb and back and forth, I really love it. I think both series work well with each other. The Seinfeld season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, all the guest appearances by the different actors. And I think, again, the sneaky, amazing talent on Seinfeld is Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
And George.
Those... And Kramer. I mean, those three. Again, that's what makes that show so amazing. All three of them are fucking amazing. And Jerry works with each one of them, even though Jerry isn't great. Like, he works well with each one of them. Would it have been better if they cast Richard Lewis as Jerry? Maybe. But Jerry or one of Jerry's friends, the dude that was in Larry Miller. Like if he had cast like one of his people that could have played a version of Jerry, would that have been better from a tactical? No, because you needed Jerry Seinfeld's. You needed his energy there because he played this sort of straight man to it all. Later on, he got better. Like, I like the Superman stuff when they got later, like in the Rays. Like, he had some episodes, he had some moments. When the more I watch the series, the more I appreciate and see him trying. He's not an actor. And he's there with three of the best people doing incredible fucking work.
And that's the thing about George, is what I wanted to say. In his work in particular, because, and you touched on this before with the Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Larry,
and I wanted to say, Larry David, you see him every now and then. You see him pop up in a bunch of different episodes, or you hear his voice on the phone.
He's Steinbrenner, and he's
Steinbrenner's voice and all that shit. Like, and because he's one of the creators of the show, right? Like, it's like George is based on Larry David, isn't it? Like, that whole character,
100%. Even
is
100%.
And you see that when you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm and then watch a couple episodes of Seinfeld, or vice versa, you immediately get that connection. Immediately,
you get how good of an actor Jason. Yeah.
Yes, how great he's
Jason
doing playing this fucking dude, because you know Larry David is playing Larry David in Larry David.
Yeah, he's not an actor. He's not an actor. He's no actor.
He's not. Like, so you know a lot of the shit that comes out of his mouth is probably what he's thinking most of the time. But ultimately, those aspects of the way those shows came about and we see them, I think there's a lot of brilliance there. There's a lot of great moments. I love seeing Larry David pop up in and throughout. You know, he's kind of a little fucking like, you got to be burned that character of George wasn't given to him.
No, there's an episode, there's a whole series. I don't know if you got that far in Curb Your Enthusiasm. There's a reunion season of Curb Your Enthusiasm where they come back to Seinfeld and they're going to do like a reunion season or reunion episode. And he pisses off Jason Alexander so much that he quits, and Larry plays. He's like, I'll be George. It's based on me anyway. And it sucks so bad. Larry never wanted to be an actor. He never wanted it. Like he always wanted someone to play him. And it's funny, they replicate that in a season of Seinfeld where they have Jeremy Piven play Jason Alexander.
George. Oh, it's perfect. And that other guy they come to get to Kramer.
To play Kramer, yeah.
Oh my God, perfect.
Yeah.
And you know, like, maybe these guys actually did audition for these roles, so they knew exactly who to go get for this fucking episode.
It was very awesome. But if there's any series...
I've seen, like, here's the thing. Yes, I'm not a big fan of Seinfeld, but there are some episodes and some scenes and shit that I thought were really fun.
Right. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, just like Friends, where I said about Friends, you can understand, like, Friends could easily have been number one on this list. And I've seen lists like this where Friends is number one and Seinfeld's number 5. Like, either one could be number one. And I think whether you're a Friends person or a Seinfeld person, even though the series aren't necessarily analogous, like you can respect the other one. You know, you know the other one's awesome. You know the other one's worth it, even though I come from Seinfeld place, and people come, and someone might come from a Friends place. Both those series are some of the best that ever aired.
No, if you like Seinfeld, you shall be banished to the West for all time.
Fuck you.
You shall not step foot
Now,
in our Friends.
We talked
universe.
a little bit about it, Joe, but people in the live chat are saying it. No, the Survivor episode when Curb was classic. Curb is wax as Miles. Did Laverne and Shirley make the top 200? It did make the top 200.
It did, yeah.
I do want to talk a little bit before we end things on the biggest jip. We talked a second about it, but
Don't say that.
is the biggest jip on this list is Married with Children is not on it at all. The top 200. Now, Married with Children, I think, even though it wasn't necessarily always the top notch. Like it was crude humor, fart humor, fun humor. I think the cast had excellent chemistry, amazing people, amazing, awesome. Also, from a cartoon standpoint, I don't think I saw Futurama on this list too.
I didn't either.
Maybe it's maybe Katie Seagal. Maybe they don't like Katie Seagal. Maybe they don't like Katie Seagal's songs on Sons of Anarchy. I can't argue with her. I can't argue with them there. But But if you think about that cast, even especially Katie Seagal, Ed O'Neill, and one of the funniest human beings to ever walk the earth with Christina Applegate. She is incredible. I don't know if you got into what is it? Dead Like Me? What's this series with her and Linda Cardini on Netflix? Is it it's something dead something? If you haven't watched it, you should watch it, Joe. It's Dead Like Me or something. People in the live chat correct me in the live about the name of this series. Dead to Me, maybe, is what it's called. Dead to Me. Great series, and as we talked about this a couple of shows ago, as good as it gets, the movie with her and Cameron Diaz and stuff.
A truck driver scene.
Yeah, and just that whole movie in general. I think, and she's in a series with Job that's an underrated series that isn't great. It's not remembered. Job. With Job from Arrested Development, where they play husband and wife. It's one of those shows that I always watch on airplanes for some reason because it's always available. But
Will Arnett.
Yes, Will Arnett. BoJack. But Joe Bojack. So I think that's about it. I mean, it's anticlimactic as we end here at the end. There's not many other shows that weren't on this list that I think we should talk about. I think this is a good place to end. And Married with Children was way better than Seinfeld and Curb, says the live chat. I'll slap some sense into them. Martin was on this list. A lot of great shows on this list. Joe, what are your top 5 sitcoms if you have to think about it? Just a quick. It doesn't have to be crazy, but what are your...
Golden Girls, Jefferson, Frasier, Cheers, and MASH.
Cheers and MASH. Mine...
Yeah, and so you asked me before, who deserves to be higher?
Yeah.
There's your
answer. Okay.
By 1, Cheers is higher than Frasier. Okay. Mine would be... Oh, my God. What have I said before? I said Scrubs. Definitely Scrubs is up there. Arrested Development. Cheers. Frasier is 1. Oh God, can I just call them 1? No, I can't, can I? Oh fuck. So Cheers, Frasier, and Taxi? I think I had a different list last time. Yeah, no, see, because ask me next month and like my feelings. I've been watching a lot of Golden Girls. Like
Golden Girls is so great.
Months, so it's on my mind. Like Jeffersons, I love that show. Like, but ask me next month and maybe I put something else up there.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Maybe
All in the Family.
Always Sunny gets put up there.
Maybe Always Sunny. Maybe All in the Family. Maybe the Golden Girls definitely gets up there for me too.
See, and here's the thing: like with some shows, like Always Sunny, there's 20 seasons of it, right?
It's a ridiculous amount of seasons.
Like, how do you? Most shows only last 5, but this is a different or used to. Most of these others, like MASH was 11 seasons, but like Golden Girls 6 seasons, or Cheers was like 10 seasons or
10,
something
11
like that.
seasons. Yeah, something like that.
You know, like, but like in this day and age, there's so many channels and so many distributors of this kind of content with streaming services and cable and over the air, just there's so much distribution for the media that you can be a long time running show. Unfortunately, there's a lot of good shows that get cut and called before their time because of these streaming giants want to give the next one their shot.
I know how much you hate one of my favorite actresses of all time, Drew Barrymore. But Santa Clarita Diet's like that, Glow's like that. Netflix, there's a graveyard of Netflix series that didn't get a chance to close out because they need to get rushed out the door because of something. I'm lucky that BoJack got 6 seasons, even though it got a cut season. It was supposed to be a full season. You know, like so many of these streaming series don't get their due.
One of the big problems with that, I think, is the model that they insist upon.
Yeah.
And they insist upon and it's not whether or not it's 1 week at a time or all dropped at once. It's the yearly model.
Yeah.
That is the killer of these shows. A lot of times season 2 might come back, right? But half the audience that really liked it forgot about it, and they have a year's worth of shit they've been fucking putting in their algorithm so that the next time that show comes up, because they didn't add it to my list, they just burned through it in a week or erased it from their list. Maybe it doesn't come up in their algorithm anymore because for some reason, you know, you and your daughter or you and your son started watching fucking murder shows all the time, real life murder shows all the time, or maybe you got into a whole different kind of programming that now you don't have it and you forgot about it and you forget to go back for it. And that's a big problem. And there are only 10 episodes. 10 episodes is one day. You watch a whole fucking show in one day.
It's true.
In one fucking day. And then they make you wait 365 days or more for any more of that content. You forget how good. Oh, what was going on? I forget the whole fucking story. I don't really want to watch season 1 all over. I'm not invested anymore. I'm done.
No.
That's what happened with me in that fucking Bateman shit.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't, if they had come out 6 months later with another 10 episodes, I'm all over that. It's still right in the front of my fucking brain.
But you just fall out, and then you're going to have to wait till it's all done to binge it and get into it again.
Yeah.
Now, thanks. Where can I stream it? Iron Throne says, who's going to play Phil and Joe in the Phil and Joe sitcom? I think it's going to be...
They did it. It's called Wayne's World.
Yeah, that's a follow-up question. But I think we're going to have Weird Al and Jonathan Davis from Korn playing.
No, come on. How much weight do I have to lose to get Zach back here instead of Jonathan Davis?
Isn't Jonathan
People
Davis...
say I look like Post Malone.
Okay.
I've heard it like 3 times over the last 5 years. Oh my God, you look like Post Malone.
I don't think you look like Post Malone.
I'm like, what? It used to be when I was in my 20s, it was Zach De La Roca, and then most of my 30s, it was Jonathan Davis, and now in my 40s, it's Post Malone.
Now, Sonic, it's me. It's always Weird Al,
and I've always looked like this.
For me, it's always Weird Al. Maybe I got Howie Mandel at the point.
Or Jesus,
yeah. Or that season of American Idol. I got Bo Bice for a while. Are you Bo Bice? You got long hair because you're Bo Bice. Now, Sonic Boy.
Holy shit, Phil! That's the one season that is literally the one and only season of that show I have ever watched.
Like, you know the name,
I know exactly who Bo Bice is. That motherfucker should have won. He got robbed. He should have done his a cappella version or whatever fuck his Bad Company song or whatever song it was that he did for the finale instead of the season semi-finale, and that motherfucker would have locked it up. Sent it home.
Bo Bice is fuck. Turn off your camera and turn it back on again, Joe. Did we talk about Cobra Kai yet? We didn't talk about Cobra Kai, but Joe and I will be reviewing the most recent season of Cobra Kai when it comes on. And if you haven't already, check out our review that we did on right when the episode came out. Like, we did it right after the episodes aired. We binge watched it, and we'll probably try to do that again.
Oh, with Cobra Kai? Fuck yeah.
Maybe we'll try to get
it. That's one of the best shows on television. Streaming.
Oh, we fucking love it. Both of us are huge fans of Cobra Kai, and we can't wait for the next season of it. I don't care how ridiculous it gets. It cannot get ridiculous enough for me.
Fucking brilliant. I love it. I think it's one of the best things that's come about from this nostalgia television kind of thing. This like reboot, reimagining, or whatever. Dude. Well, the continuation is really what this is. This isn't even like reboot. This is reboot of the Karate Kid like franchise, but it's its own thing. It's continuation. It's the Cobra Kai story. It's like it's fucking awesome.
It's excellent. As Sonic Boy says, it's excellent. Now Sonic Boy also has a question. Phil and Joe, which one of you is Wayne and which one of you is Garth? I think that's obvious.
Yeah.
I think I'm Wayne. I'm Wayne. Yeah. Joe owns his Garthness. Yeah, if I went away, it would be bad. If I walked away and left Joe with the show,
yeah, dude. Every time he does, I sit here and stare at the camera. And go,
I
straight up turn into fucking Garth. I don't know what to say.
I love you, and that's why I'm holding a vodka pee for 3 hours. You know what I mean? So, Cobra Kai's exactly Joe, like the Tiger King.
That scene exists too in the fucking movies.
Yep.
Wayne's not there, and Garth just fucking freezes on.
Jackie C says Joe should be played by Joe Rogan, and someone says I should be played by Keanu. I think. Jay left a message. Listen to Jay's voice.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Joe Rogan. I can see that.
He's actually some of his stand-up, recent stand-ups have been fucking really good.
Speaking of sitcoms, he was on News Radio. So here we go. Let's play this.
Hey Phil, can you repeat the top 20? And where did Friends and I Love Lucy land on the list?
Okay, give me 1 second, and I will repeat the top 20. But as we end here, let me go to my history. I closed the window, but I can get history. Top 200 best comedies. Let's get here. Click on it, motherfucker. As I lose the chat, give me
this bitch.
Well, I'll re-go over the fucking top 20 in a second.
Jay and Silent Bob will play Phil and Joe. They'll just play Jay and Silent Bob. They'll just do this on their own.
Yeah, I don't know if either one of us is silent. That's the problem. Okay, so our top 20 is let me get down. I'm back to the top 100. Let me get to back down here to the top 20. Oh, scroll down. Whoa. Okay. Whoa, this is like a different way it's looking. Fuck. Okay, so let me go. The top 20 is. But anyways, thank you guys everyone for No. The top 20 is I'm trying to stall for time. Go fuck yourself. Okay. Top 20 is number 20 Silicon Valley, number 19 Arrested Development.
Silicon Valley was actually top 20?
Top 20. Number 20.
Bullshit.
That's fucking a lot of
bullshit. I don't know how I didn't say that the first time. It's a good show. It was okay. Like when it was like even with like I said, the dude that's in Deadpool, the bartender from Deadpool, like I don't like him in anything. And it was still okay even with him in it, but like top 20? No fucking way.
We got Lady Stoneheart, Kimmy G. Great to see you, Lady.
Rotten Tomatoes a fucking 2.
Fucking, that's what this stuff's fucking bullshit. Okay, number 19, we got Arrested Development. Number 18, we got a great series, but I don't think it should be number 18. Atlanta, great series though. Number 17, a good series that I think really shouldn't be in the top 17 either. The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Then at number 16, we got Fawlty Towers, a John Cleese series. Number 15, we have Frasier. Number 14 is an animated series.
That was my number 3, Frasier.
Animated series. It's number 4, Frasier. Number 13, Alo, a French cafe owner, tries to ride out World War II, a 1982 series. Number 12, Parks and Rec. Number 11.
Good, but doesn't deserve to be in the top 15.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've seen a few.
50.
I've seen a few episodes.
Top 20, but no, yeah, top 50.
It's a good series. Number 11, I think this is a recency bias thing with Parks and Rec. Number 11 is 30 Rock. Number 10 is Veep. Number 9 is The Office British version. Number 8, to answer your question, Jay, is Friends. Number 7 is Taxi. Number 6 is Office US version. Number 5 is MASH. Number 4 is Cheers. Number 3 is an animated series with a pointy head motherfucker. Number 2 is I Love Lucy. And number 1 is Seinfeld. Miles Power says it's a hipster list. Now, Real Life Decent, did Joe say he would watch Dance of Dragons when it comes? Joe and I are both going to be watching I
watched the first 3 episodes of Wheel of Time.
Yes, I did too, and I like it enough to watch more. And I also watched the new Ghostbusters movie, which was shit ton of ridiculous nostalgia. We'll talk about Wheel of Time at a different date when the whole season's done. Joe and I will do a podcast.
It doesn't deserve a episodic recap or...
Yeah, we'll talk about the whole season when it's done on one of these Sunday shows.
How are they going to do the Dragon thing? Is that going to be a weekly release? Are they doing that 'cause it's going to be HBO? Is it
it's going to be HBO. It's going to be HBO and Max, and I think it's going to be weekly releases. And I think Amazon Lord of the Rings series will be the same. I think it will be weekly.
$1 billion series.
Billions and billions, Joe.
$1 billion series. Now, I'm going to have a big problem with this. I don't know what to think about the Lord of the Rings.
I don't know either, and we're going to be watching it. It might bastard Executioner us.
Yep.
Now, Jay says, let's see some reactions before we call this. Jay says, I love Lucy and Friends should have been before Seinfeld. I think a lot of people feel that way. And like I said, I could understand a complete reversal of this list where Seinfeld or Lucy is number 1. Or I think, reasonably speaking, you got to guess that Seinfeld or Friends is going to be number 1 in most sitcom lists at this point.
Friends should have beaten Friends.
You think
should have beaten Seinfeld.
Do you think Friends, in your mind, should Friends have been number 1 on a list like this?
Yes, it even ends better than Seinfeld ends. Seinfeld ending is almost as bad as like How I Met Your Mother.
A lot of people hate it.
But the good thing about it, and the reason why it doesn't matter, is because it's not one big story. Like there's no content. Like there's no like. It's just like a day in the life over and over and over and over again with these 3. It's not like. Right, a storyline that really carries through.
Exactly. How did you want to end it other than like a clip show kind of thing?
Right, like it's kind of strange, but
it's weird. It is. It's not perfect. So what else isn't perfect is transitions to the end of the show. So everyone,
well, how often do these shows get to end? How often do they get to end?
Not
That's
often.
That's the big question. So the fact that these shows even get endings, some of them, is pretty amazing, right?
And Sterling, we'll definitely have to try to get Joe on an After Dark one of these weekend nights. On one of these After Darks, we'll try to get Joe on Teflon TV when the After Darks come back over the winter, and yeah, so yeah, we'll get Joe on soon on one of those. Because now that he has weekends off, I can actually send him links on Friday or Saturday nights for After Darks when they happen. Or maybe we'll try to get Joe on one of these what ifs. Joe, are you ready for one more voicemail before we call this a stream?
Word.
Okay. Oh shit. I already clicked the music though. No. This is from our good buddy Jay, I believe.
Friends and like I Love Lucy to me are the most rewatchable comedies. I guess I Love Lucy is even more proven because, like, none of us were alive when that show came on, and our parents can watch that show today and laugh at episodes. So, like, there's something to that.
Children now can too.
Yeah, exactly.
Very true, Jay.
I do a very good point, Jay. I do a kids show where I go to schools and daycares and summer camps, and I put on like a music comedy show for kids. And there's at one point in the show where I make I Love Lucy jokes. Like, Lucy, I'm home, blah, blah, blah. And after the show, I'm constantly surprised when the kids come up and, like, talk to you afterwards, how many kids say, oh, I love that from I Love Lucy. I'm like, you've seen I Love Lucy? Like, certain things I do in the show, I do for the adults to make them laugh, too. like, there's one part where I'm like, everyone say Home Alone, and I say, everyone say, oh no, Joe Pesci, you know, and then the adults laugh. And that's one of those things, but I'm surprised how many kids watch I Love Lucy still. So great point, Jay, about how universal the series of I Love Lucy is. It just comes generation through generation. And now it's going to hit even more generations when the Nicole Kidman movie comes out. Now, now Jackie says Seinfeld is number one for the same reason Nickelback is popular. Oh, that hurts. That fucking hurts. Jackie C, you wound me. I love you as always. That's why we love you having you in the live chat. And on that note, oh my goodness. Fuck you, Joe. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to the audio version of this, please leave a comment on iTunes or like the podcast wherever you're fucking liking things. Thank you so much. We'll try to be back next week. We'll try to be back periodically on these Sundays as we're waiting for more shows to come out, talk about. So we'll try to be back every Sunday. I will be back on Wednesday night on Teflon TV with another Game of Thrones What If, and maybe someday during the week for some other random thing. And we'll, So we'll either be back next Sunday or the Sunday after that for some fun, silly discussion. Maybe we got to see how Thanksgiving weekend does for both of us. So Joe, thank you so much tonight for indulging me for almost 4 hours. Oh my goodness.
You serious?
Yeah, I mean, we should probably go on for 15 more minutes just to hit the 4 hour point. But thank you everyone and some of you guys for joining us tonight. So everyone, thank you so much. We'll talk to you guys next time. Sorry. It's just going to be an hour. Good night.